All right, big Red Overreaction on a Saturday where Nebraska just got their ass kicked. 56-17, they lose to Indiana. Indiana's now 7-0. Nebraska falls to 5-2, and we'll head to Columbus 1 week from today. Welcome in, everybody. You know the drill for this. Thanks for all the T's and P's out there. Eventually, we're all going to die, but we're going to do the show. And unfortunately, everybody knows my record on this show is not very good. I'm now 11-44.
Yeah, how dare you bring me into this, Gary?
But everybody, please be kind, because we have a newbie on Big Red Overreaction who, when he agreed to this in June, this didn't look like that big of a game.
No.
Austin Jacobson.
I thought
today.
This was supposed to be the 7-0 game, was it not? Leading into Ohio State. This was the game that everyone marked. Oh, this is Nebraska's 7-0 start. This is where the Huskers are going to turn the corner, and Big Noon kickoff will be in Columbus.
There is nothing good that comes out of today's game. Nebraska absolutely got their ass kicked. They got embarrassed. This is one of the low points for Nebraska football, and there have been many along the way. Coming out of a bye game, big stage, big opportunity in Nebraska. This game was over pretty early, in my opinion, at 56-7. But here's I think, a couple of things. And this is going to be, I know you want to have a lot of takes, Austin. There's going to be a lot of all of you.
Yes.
We will go back to Bloomington and hear from Matt Rule, because I'd be curious on what he has to say, because I think you have to figure out the why. And I don't know if they know the why immediately. But you can say that Indiana is a very good football team, and they are. And they executed at an extremely high level today. They made everything look easy, which is a direct reflection on you. But this has to be about Nebraska. This has to be why Nebraska performed like they did out of a bye, when a lot of the stuff looked the same, and a lot of the things that we have been kind of tiptoeing around got exposed today, and there's some real questions. But this has to be about Nebraska and the why, and how you fix Nebraska, and what your response is 1 week from today. But there is nothing good that comes out of this loss today to a very good Indiana team that is 7-0.
Again, as you said, Indiana very good. I thought they were coached well. They're talented. They are experienced. The stink of this program is still here. That is the truth. And I think that part of it is maybe roster turnover. Everyone I saw halfway through the second quarter, when it was 28-7, were pointing the finger already, saying, oh, well, the changing of the guard. Curt Cignetti has already made the difference, and Matt Rule's still building a program. You can build it faster in college football. They're doing it in two different ways, but Cignetti's is clearly already working, and he did it by getting the stink out. He transferred 50 players, new players, into this program and infused talent already. Nebraska, still with a couple of the old guard. They're talented players. They're good. They performed well for 5 wins so far this season, but today was not their day, and it's still carried over from all of the issues over the past decade.
There's part of that I agree with, but let's be honest today. Today was about execution.
Yes.
Indiana in the first half put an absolute clinic on in execution, and they beat Nebraska in every aspect: offense, defense, special teams, between the ears with the headsets on, every single thing. Indiana looked closer to the identity than what we think Nebraska is, and Nebraska's got some hard questions, but this has to be about Nebraska. Move on from Indiana and go, hat tip, Indiana's a really good football team that is well coached, that has it's scary to say this, Austin, but Indiana reflects their head coach more than Nebraska reflects their head coach.
Well, I
want to believe, because that's a confident guy that is running Indiana's program, that if you were smart this week, you said that's a good football team regardless of their schedule. And they just showed you today. Today was the truth game. Today was the truth game. And Indiana is the truth. And the truth about Nebraska is very uncomfortable right now.
I thought coming into this contest, the only way Nebraska was going to be able to get going was to win ugly. And they played ugly, but they weren't going to get a win that way. And what you said exactly about the team feeling confident behind Curt Cignetti and everything Indiana did, I'm not sure at what point in this contest Nebraska decided to put down the controller and give up, but it was very, very early.
Two things. You're absolutely right. Two things. I thought Nebraska had a terrible response to giving up a touchdown on the opening drive, because all of a sudden, and they did stop Indiana on 4th down, but you never felt like, oh, that's the turning point. I didn't like how Nebraska responded to giving up, getting punched in the mouth on defense, because they never bowed up again, and they played with a lack of confidence, and guys that needed to make plays didn't make plays. And then when Dowdell fumbled, that game was over. I mean, you could have gone to the pumpkin patch and still listened to Big Red Overreaction after that. And that's not good. That should not be happening, because what happens? Indiana felt it, and they had Nebraska on their heels, and they put the hammer down. All right, you can join the show. Rhett, Jackson, Bryce, and Ben have all been on hold for nearly an hour. So we're going to get to them before we go out to Bloomington. Big Red Overreaction is brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally. Also, Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. There were a lot of collisions on the field today that did not go Nebraska's way. Also, this fine program that we can't go longer than 4 hours because I didn't bring my charger for my computer is brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Again, if you want to get in on the show, there's a lot of different ways. The phones, email, tweets. Hell, just stop by the radio station at 50th and Capitol. 402-951-1620. That is the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. And we do start with Jackson. Jackson, you're first up.
Guys, good afternoon. Live here. Beautiful afternoon in Sioux City, Iowa. Not so much in Bloomington. Hopefully it's a good day there where you guys are.
Yeah. Please tell me you're not going to start with the uniform color.
Actually do.
No. If you do, I'm out. That can be your second one, but it better not be your first one.
Yeah. I'll leave the uniform color for somebody else. I'm going to go a little big picture here. Look, this loss is interesting because you guys mentioned it off the bat here, but the juxtaposition between Indiana with a first-year head coach and Nebraska. I've only called in one other time ever, and I remember, I think it was during the Riley or maybe early in the Frost era, and I remember this was during Northwestern's time where they were winning big in the Big Ten West, and thinking, well, why have I been told that it takes 5 years to build up a program, right? I mean, like everyone, you got to get the recruits, you got to bring them in, and here we are watching a first-year head coach absolutely dominate every single phase. It was over from the start, right? So it's just so interesting watching this game of all games because it just made it so clear how far we are. I don't know what's going on with that. I think people are going to call out. You guys might do record numbers today, by the way. This was people are going to be worked up, and I'm ready for it. I'm gonna get off and hang up and listen to everyone else. And I'm sure my cousin Brett is on the line. He probably called in right after I did. But I think people are going to call in and look. I firmly believe this. We do not know more than coaches do, right? I mean, like position coaches, they know what they're doing. They're watching these players every single day in practice. That said, we don't have to accept some sort of just defiance of we have to be bad. It's going to take some amount of time. Our special teams, we can't find. There's 30,000 people on campus. Go find somebody that can make a field goal. That kind of stuff. Marcus Satterfield, I've said it for years from the start. We had 49 rushing yards, I think is what I saw after 3 quarters. You look at a team like Indiana, they're obviously great. I think people are going to realize they threw the ball around. They did some really good stuff on offense. They missed some plays in the first half that probably could have gone for touchdowns that they just got unlucky on. But I look at our offensive coordinator, 49 rushing yards is what I saw, I think, after 3 quarters. He got hired. Remember, he was on the chopping block at South Carolina. He had 2 good games with Spencer Rattler, and I think that got him the job. I think, I don't want to be the one. Matt Rule said this last year. People overreact, instant gratification. I want this guy fired. I want this guy fired. Donnie Raiola's got to go because we didn't rush the ball. I'm not buying into that as much. What I do buy into is this. I think getting in a rhythm and running the ball takes consistency doing it. Iowa, we laugh at them all the time. But you know what they do? They get into their formation. They run inside zone, outside zone, all the stuff they do. And they do it for 3 quarters, and it's not working, and then they bust up big, right? At the end of the day, I think it's just so frustrating because Dirk Chatelain tweeted this. I saw this, and it's so true. Said over 22 years, it's insane how many upstart and dormant programs have earned national accolades and validation by humiliating Nebraska. It's a tradition like any other. Here we are again today. It's another year. It's frustrating. I can't wait for everybody to dive into it here on Big Red Overreaction. Willing to hear your guys' takes. Again, there's going to be a lot of overreaction today. I do think it has to start with that offensive coordinator and a good hard look at that. 7 points against an Indiana team is tough. Thanks, guys, for taking the call. Hope you have a great day. Find some positive today. Let's go. The Busch Light's ice cold. The ribs are about to come off the smoker. We'll be all right. Go Big Red.
Thank you for thinking of us.
Yeah. One thing he talked about there about the coaching changes and all that sort of stuff. I would make a solid argument that you and I might have a busier day than Ed Foley did today, because when you choose not to send out your field goal unit to get points, today was a travesty in all sorts of ways. When you choose to not, in a game that's close early, to not take points when you have a chance to get points and you have to go for it on each and every possession, and then on the preceding kickoff, your number one electric dynamic player decides to return it to your own 1 yard line. What more do you need to see from a team that is being held up? The special teams are being held up by the bootstraps by a singular punter who punted 3 times today.
They look like a team that during the bye week, I'm not sure what they did.
No,
the football IQ on the special teams is god awful.
Yeah,
and the problem right now with Nebraska is, and you add another one into the lack of trust tree, is the defense. The defense got gashed. The biggest thing is on the ground. I thought they'd be able to throw on them a bit and do a little pitch and catch, but they got absolutely gashed on the ground. But there are a lot of elements of this team where I don't think coaches trust aspects and players don't trust coaches. You have no faith in the field goal unit, that when you just need points desperately, you need something on the board, you're not going to go for that.
Yeah.
Listen, Nebraska's got some flaws that have been hanging around that against 2 really good teams this year have got exposed. But the area where you felt confident enough that you keep your head above water in a phase was defense. Defense went against Illinois. It was an offense that could run and throw the ball. What happened? Today they went in against an offense that could run and throw the ball. The 2 most dynamic offenses this year that could run and throw have exposed Nebraska. And so when your strength, and you're like, man, I got the most confident in that, is got a dent in it, you're like, boy, what else can we do? Because we all know offensively, it is so damn clunky. And it was a terrible day today to compare it to the Indiana offense that runs so smooth. And Nebraska makes it so hard. So hard. There's very little yards after contact, whether you're a running back or a wide receiver. There's very few elements of creativity consistently compared to what Indiana did. And it's not like Indiana is doing like, oh my God, this is mind-blowing stuff. They're doing simple plays, and guys are making plays. Guys are making throws. It just, one team executed at an extremely high level today, and another team, I got questions, but there are some things that have ailed Nebraska that are still there and get exposed on this stage. All right, Matt Rule is getting ready in just a moment. When he does, Peter will let me know.
We've got him. We just got him.
So let's go to first of all, I want to say Rhett, Bryce, Ben. You're not going to miss anything with Matt Rule, but we'll go to Matt Rule. Then we'll take a break. Then we'll come back and we're going to go wall-to-wall calls here. Probably, sorry, Austin, with your debut. Probably less of us, more of you. Here's Matt Rule.
Obviously, very, very disappointed. I would be remiss if I did not give a ton of credit to Coach Signetti and what he's done, the way that they play, offense, defense, and special teams. Just a lot of credit. And, on our end, as I just told the guys in there, this happened on my watch, and I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't see this coming. I thought we were going to play great. And they exploited a lot of things on us. We had some opportunities, we start with the ball on the 2 yard line. We have a couple chances to get off the field on the first drive. We can't make those plays. We have a chance to get off the field. We have a chance to answer. We step out of bounds at the 2. We fumble the ball in the red zone. And but at the end of the day, we just couldn't really tackle the back today. Couldn't stop the run. And they made a lot of big plays in the vertical passing game. And just was bad football by us. And I'm not embarrassed of our players, but I'm embarrassed of the job that I did, to get our team ready. I have to do a better job next week and the weeks after. I didn't sense any quit in the guys. Probably could have kept the score down by maybe punting, a couple of those fourth downs, or not throwing it and just kind of seeding the game. But I thought it was really important for our team as they went through this, that we continue to try to attack. And there's a bunch of young players, the Dylans of the world. I want them to have those throws, those opportunities, and try to fight back. And we just weren't able to really get anything done on all 3 sides of the ball today. So very, very, very disappointing. I appreciate all the fans that came here. I appreciate everyone that supports us. And this was certainly not good enough by any stretch. And for that, I'm sorry.
Questions? You mentioned that they exploited. So what are the things they exploited? Maybe how did they find those things?
Well, they put us in a run pass bind with their RPO game and a couple of the big plays. They attacked us in man with some crack screens, which is the same stuff we do, and they blocked us well on the perimeter. I felt like a lot of it, to be quite honest with you, Sam, was just we didn't tackle real well. I mean, they were finding seams and missing tackles, and even it might seem like a little thing now and then, but all of a sudden you're in instead of being in 2nd and 7, you're in 1st and 10 again, and they just stay on the field. And so, and I think they threw the ball up and they went up and got the ball, and that makes it hard for Tony as he's trying to play some man, to get it, and then we just were never quite able to get home. Even when we got home a couple times, we couldn't quite sack the quarterback. So. Just didn't really make a play to get off the field. Malcolm made the one play before the half where he jumped up and knocked away the post, and that was really the only one that we had. So I haven't seen a day like that defensively. Even if you go back to Michigan for us last year, obviously that game got away from us, but it was never a day where we just couldn't get a stop. I don't think we used the punt return team till the fourth quarter. We had the one stop on 4th down, but they played fast. They played decisively. Their backs ran hard, and we didn't tackle.
Can you expand on what you mean by, or what you saw from their effort? You mentioned you saw no quit in them. What did you see as things got out of hand?
I think it was 28. Was it 28-7? Coming out of the half, and we drove the ball down. We throw the things sometimes go out of order in my brain, right? But because I'm thinking back, but we throw the pick on 4th down, right, and that runs down there. I'm just saying, I've been a part of some bad teams where guys are on the sidelines throwing their helmets and quitting. I didn't see that. I saw guys wanting to continue to play. As we got into the 4th, that game was decided, which is disappointing. So we played some of the young players, and they made some mistakes. But I think it was 3 interceptions, maybe 4, in the second half, 3, and which led to touchdowns by them. So, I do believe with all my heart, I believe that in games like this, there's a ton of lessons and a ton of opportunities. And so, getting out there offensively and trying to drive the ball, or defensively, playing some of the young players, you give guys a chance to get reps, versus a really good team, but. I just think that I thought they had our number today, and again, that's the part that really infuriates me as the head coach. People are going to point at this person, everything should be pointed right at me. I usually can see things coming. And I'll tell you right now, I did not see this coming, and so credit to them. I don't want to take anything away from them. They're an excellent football team, but yeah, I did not see this coming.
What's your biggest concern right now on offense? Did you miss? What would you say?
You talking about today during the game today, or I'm not probably
today and in totality?
I'm probably not in the right mind frame to do like a big picture thing. I'll be happy to answer that probably on Monday. As I think through it, just I'm still so in the moment here today. I think the biggest thing today, Sip, is there's nothing that's happening that's like easy and routine. You got a one-on-one, you're throwing a bubble out there and we're catching it, and they're running for 20 yards on the same play, and we're getting tackled for no gain. It's one thing when if you're throwing that into bad coverages, you're yelling at the coaches, and it's just in general, right? And so I'm not putting that on the players. I'm not putting that up on anybody. It's just even when you think you have a good play, like a big play, it's just not quite clicking. And we wanted to play that game differently. Our hope today was to come out. They're a pass rushing group. We wanted to get in big people. We wanted to run the ball. We wanted to play action. We wanted to be violent. We kind of had that when we ran the ball on that one drive, then fumbled the ball in the red zone, right? Then we came back and we did some different things and scored to make it 14-7. And then kind of as it got away from us, it just was like, hey, let's go to more. We're going to have to go more of a drop back to get back in the game. And I don't know that we're going to win, just dropping back and throwing it every play. We need a run game to go with it. And, So in general, I think as the score got away from us, we got away from kind of the game plan offensively, but nothing that's happening. You kind of throw a ball out there and it's one-on-one and you're hoping someone steps out of it. We're just not quite stepping out of it. And I'm not throwing that on the guys. I've got to find better ways to get our guys to make that play. We made some great catches. Jalen catches the ball, puts his hand on the ground, but the run after catch, explosive type plays, we're kind of always getting tackled and having to snap it again. And, you like the 80-yard run, you like the 40-yard play. So I think that's what I saw today. And as we move forward, I'd be happy to talk. I'd like to think through it. I just don't want to say something that's,
know it's standard. I know it's standard for you to defer at the beginning of games if you guys win the coin toss. Did you consider taking the ball to try to get a lead on Indiana right away? Obviously, it didn't play out the way you hoped.
Yeah.
But what was the thought process in choosing to defer?
Yeah, we always defer, and we trust our defense, right? We have a pretty darn good defense. We thought we were going to play great defense today. Sometimes I'll take the ball when wins a factor. But if you look at most of the games that they've played, it's been a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. This is the first time, other than that, they've just done that to somebody. Like they were clicking on all cylinders and we were not. And so that's why I say, I look back at who else can I look at but me? But that's why I just thought like, hey, and again, we stopped, we had them stop, they make the first down, right? We have them second and whatever. They checked the ball down, third down. So they had some opportunities for both drives that they scored early on to get off the field. I thought we'd be better on third down. I thought we'd match up well. In third down, we didn't quite make any plays in coverage, today that we needed to make.
What are the challenges now of just moving on from this? Obviously, you're going to play a team with perceptually more talent next weekend on the road at Ohio State.
Yeah, I honestly, I just think that our guys are going to bounce back. I've never doubted the character of those guys. This was not a day-to-day where they didn't come out and try. This wasn't a week where they didn't practice. That's what hurts me about it, right? Like, I'm telling you that I believe we were going to play great just based on everything that I've seen. And so we got a lot of guys in that room who love Nebraska and they're resilient and they want to battle. And so, as a team, we have some things that we're, good at. We have some things that we're not quite good enough at yet that we're working through. And this team took advantage of some of those things. And so they'll come back and they'll fight. I would have no doubt that we'll fight all 5 games. The days of like a big disappointing loss, setting us on a run, we're going to play each game. If the team's better than us, they're better than us. But I know those guys. They'll battle.
What was your last one?
Sorry?
What was the
I disagree with the call. So I was holding the iPad when I did it. So, you're not supposed to show the iPad to the official, but because I was holding it, he threw it on me. But I didn't show it to him. So I'm confused sometimes with some of the rules now. But here again, that had nothing, I appreciate you asking me. I want to make sure I said that had nothing to do with the game. It was a well-called game. We didn't play nearly well enough.
Real quick about Dylan, how did you assess his performance today?
Yeah, I think I have to watch the tape to see, where things were. I just think with young, talented quarterbacks like that, that stunk today, right? Like in terms of being in that situation. But that situation will pay off for him in so many ways. Because what I loved was he just kept wanting to go back out there. And he just kept competing. And, even that second to last drive, when he moved us down the field, we have the ball down to the 5-yard line, right? So that competitive spirit, that grit, that's what you want from your quarterback. A lot of those quarterbacks, especially those 5-star kids, nothing's ever been hard for them. That was hard today, and Ja'Cory kept going out there and he kept going out there. And so we'll take this one, we'll let it hurt. We won't say much, I hope. We'll just we'll go back home. We'll wake up tomorrow and we'll get to work on next week. Because no matter what the score is, we just, we lost, right? Whether you lose in overtime or you lose by the score we lost by a day, it's just a loss. It's a bad loss. And again, I apologize for that loss. I apologize that people spent their time and money to come watch that. But again, I'm not embarrassed of our guys. I'm proud of our guys, and I know the work that they put in. I know the sacrifices they make. They'll do it again this week. But I thought that was important for Dylan. Big picture on how he played. Obviously, I have to watch this film. Even the one pick six, like it's really not on him. He's counting on a lot of other people, and if it's not quite perfect at the quarterback position, it's hard. And so we'll get a little bit better next week.
All right, that's Matt Rule. Raiola, by the way, 28 of 44, 3 picks, 234, no touchdowns, was sacked 2 times. There's a lot in there that we'll weave in and out of the rest of Big Red Overreaction. I want to get to Rhett because Rhett has been on hold for an hour and 8 minutes. Thank you, Rhett. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Where are you, Red? Are you at a bar? People who could possibly be cheering right now?
Oh, no, I'm sitting in the parking lot of the Good Life Lounge out on 180th Pacific. So Cousin Jackson was the first caller in. We were kind of coordinating this effort there for a little while. So glad that we got to be 1-2 on this one. Our strategy was he was going to hit the big picture stuff. I was going to go more analytical, but you know what? Just sitting here listening to Rule talk and all that. I mean, it was a good old-fashioned mollywopping. We got our butts beat. There's nothing that you could say about it. Now, as a person, I love football. I got a handful of subscriptions that I go to kind of teach me a little bit more about the game. And, thinking about it from a clear mindset, and I definitely haven't had about 13 or 14 Busch Lights.
Now we're talking.
Man, Satterfield doesn't know a play other than mesh, go, and belly. I mean, the gosh darn guy can't call a gosh darn game. I was a little upset there at halftime. All the group chats were going off. We're getting our butts beat, and like, you know what? Tony White can figure this out. There's obvious things that we can fix. I mean, we just got our butts beat.
Yep.
On offense, the play calling wasn't there. On defense, we were telling them, make your athletes beat us, and their athletes beat us. There wasn't a single go ball that Indiana threw. There wasn't anything behind the defense. They said, just sit down and make them beat us. And guess what? They did it. Our defensive line got manhandled.
Mm-hmm.
Our linebackers were not getting great fits. And the defensive backfield were doing what they were told to do, which was keep it in front of you. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, what frustrates me and kind of stepping back to my first comment about Jackson was going to be the guy that got the big picture stuff. I'm an alumni. I'm a donor. I sit here and I hear it takes 3 years. It takes all this stuff. And at this point, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah. Yep.
The University of Indiana is 7-0. And Kurt Signetti, great coach. I followed him since his days at Elon. He's a disciple of the school of Nick Saban. I mean, the guy's a hell of a coach. It does not take that long. The folks in my camp that are similar to me, where it's you know what, Frost didn't work out, Riley didn't work out, however it works, but we are tired of sitting and wait. And you know what, you guys, I love the show. It's a great show. I've called in from Boulder, Colorado. I've called in from Highway 92 after a win. I mean, you guys do it. You guys do it right. But some of us are starting to wear thin.
Well,
let's start winning.
Yeah, Rhett, thanks for the phone call. I did not expect an apology to the fans today.
That was.
I mean, I didn't see that coming. That adds.
And that's a direct quote.
Yeah, that adds another question. There's a little deer in the headlight look.
Yeah.
From the team and the coach after days like this. But that's where you have to figure out the why. So I'll keep going back to that. All right, Rhett, thanks for the call. It opens the line. Jaron, Bryce, Ben, stay right there. We'll take a quick break so we can get back into the show with all of you. Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally. Again, 402-951-1620. Keep banging the numbers. If you hear a busy signal, keep trying on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Austin is here. Peter is here. I'm Gary. We're here for you after Nebraska gets mollywopped 56-7 at Indiana. It's Big Red Overreaction on 101.9 The Keg and 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. 56-17, just a total collapse coming off a bye week against Indiana. Hat tip Indiana. That's a very good football team that is now 7-0. Nebraska's 5-2. They have Ohio State next week. I just want to put this out there because listening to something Rule said, apology aside, I am shook by. So Rule said earlier in the week they went with the whole underdog mentality, Austin. He said on Thursday, this is as big of a game as we've probably ever played. Mm-hmm. And then he says after the game, I didn't see this coming. I thought we would play well. He put himself out there all week, and this happened. And I have to know why. I have to know why, because that is damning.
Yeah.
That is damning for this week of football.
He added too, like earlier in the week, about how the defense is going to be tested. Tony White is going to have to make adjustments. We're going to have the offense play. He said all the things an underdog should say. And he said all the things that we've heard Matt Rule say a million times over. And yet this is still the result. So clearly, Curt Cignetti and the Indiana attack, their entire coaching staff knew Nebraska inside and out, had done their homework better, well-graded, and from top to bottom, more than Nebraska ever had.
All right, back to the phones. We go on the J-Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Here is Ben. Ben, thanks for holding. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Do not envy the position that you guys are in, because I know I would not be able to sit there after that game. But appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you.
Just a few things. I know the two previous callers had mentioned the special teams play, taking the ball out of bounds at the 1 or 2 yard line, whatever that was, kind of set us up for failure from the beginning. And I hate to say it, but as a Husker fan, the earliest memories of Husker football that I know of is from like the late Callahan, early Bo Pelini eras. That's kind of when I started remembering watching football with my dad.
Yeah,
and
I'm there with you.
What's that?
I'm there with you. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so I really haven't gotten the opportunity to like see the glory days, the 90s, everybody talks about, and whatnot. But this to me felt like a no different game than the previous 15 years. It's a big time game, first game against a ranked opponent on the road that maybe we could have the opportunity to win. I looked it up today. The last victory we've had against the ranked opponent on the road was 2011 Penn State.
Yes.
And just I thought, going into it, Indiana, they haven't played anybody leading into this. Like, we have a defense allowing 11 points per game, and then we come out with showing that we had. Offense looked atrocious. Defense looked atrocious. And then the, idea that everybody always says it takes 3 to 5 years to build a program. And we look at what Cignetti's doing at Indiana. I'm not saying they're going to run the table and win every single game this year, but I looked at their schedule. I mean, the toughest game they have left on their schedule is Ohio State. I mean, so they could finish maybe 1 or 2 losses on the year, and he turned it around with, I think they kept saying during the program too, 13 transfers from James Madison. And so, yeah, it's terrible all around today, and I'm going to go drink beer in the garage. So I appreciate it, guys.
Hey, have one for us, Ben.
Will do.
Hey, thank you, my man. Another startling quote. They relied so much on the defense winning this game today that they were going to be able to help the rest of the team. And, of course, the defense did not. Got gashed, poor tackling on the opening drive, and it just one after another. Weren't winning 50-50 balls. Plus, Indiana was making the throws and they were making the catches. Sam McEwen just tweeted this out. So now the players are talking to the media.
Mm-hmm.
Jamari Butler says the defense struggled with confidence today. Sometimes things don't go our way and our heads get down. I said right at the beginning of the show, Austin, I thought Nebraska defensively, when they gave up a opening drive touchdown and it culminated with a rushing touchdown, they didn't look right the rest of the game. They just didn't. And I'm adding that to the list of things that, all right, this is game number 7.
We hear up and down offenses quite a bit. Nebraska's defense, are they to the point where they're an up and down? I mean, highs at Colorado, you start off so well and you feel great, you feel good. But then like the Illinois game, you give up a starting touchdown. This game, you give up a starting touchdown. You can't ride out. You can't pull yourself back up. and you can't bring yourself back down to even keel. They either play really high or they're constantly at the bottom. There's no middle ground with this defense.
Here is Bryce. Bryce, good afternoon. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction. Oh, Bryce is gone. Bryce, call back.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Bryce.
That was kind of rude what he just did there to us. Here is Jaron. Good afternoon, Jaron.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. How's it going with you?
Oh, not great, to be honest. I got a couple things
Like
that
honesty.
I'm not pleased with.
Let it rip.
Yeah, let's hear it.
First off, I got a list of teams: FIU, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern.
What do
These
those
are
teams have in
that
common?
gave up less points than Nebraska game today to the Indiana offense. How does that happen, guys? We got one of the oldest defenses in college football right now. Are you telling me that our defensive coordinator got that worse in 1 year? That's just ridiculous. Second thing, Ed Foley. These Nebraska special teams are absolutely disgraceful. Fielding a kickoff at the 1 yard line, tiptoeing catch to have a Nebraska offense starting at the 1 yard line, that is absolutely ridiculous. Next thing, Dylan Raiola. Okay, let's easy set of quarterbacks to go up against, but come on, guys. He can throw and not throw an interception. This guy has no scrambling threat at all. Oh, let's see here.
What number is this one?
Oh, Nebraska, Matt Rule in the conference, he's not embarrassed today. He should be. But I'll let you guys talk on this.
No, he did. He
But
said,
my main-
Jaron, he said that right
my
away.
main
He
point,
was
Matt
embarrassed.
Rule isn't embarrassed. That guy should be embarrassed today, guys. That's all I got.
He did say he was embarrassed.
Got a quick point. Signetti also went to his press conference and was asked about the national perception of Nebraska's defense. He said, I know this will open their eyes. It's,
He is a more
oh, man.
he is a more polished, confident Bo Pelini.
Yep. He's just stomping on the grave at this point.
Well, I mean, they're good.
As he should. He should. The team looked phenomenal.
Well, he's got a system, and they match his confidence. I mean, here the other part of today is they're guys that had to make plays, made plays. Nebraska's guys that had to be good today were not even close to being good today. And Nebraska's margin of error is so small that when your best guys, when your quarterback is off the mark and his accuracy is not good, and then you have an offensive coordinator that needs elite guys to call plays for, Satterfield is not a good offensive coordinator with okay running backs, okay offensive line, okay wide receivers that get no separation. He just is not. He's not on that level of play callers in college football. It's just Nebraska's best guys did not show up today. Indiana's best guys, they showed up when they walked into the locker room at 9:00 this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Chuck. Good afternoon, Chuck.
Hey, guys. What's going on?
How much? How you doing?
Pretty good. I feel like I was on hold so long that Indiana scored again.
Nicely. Nice job.
We appreciate that.
I have a couple of takeaways from the game today. My first takeaway is that you guys are never going to beat Michigan State ever again, and we're just a better program than you. Go Green.
Oh,
okay.
that's
All right.
Chuck, the
Appreciate
Michigan
that.
State fan.
Thank
You know
you,
what,
Chuck?
Chuck? You're not going to hear this very often on a Nebraska-based show, but go Hawks tonight. Here is taking time away from the end of the preseason ahead of the season opener this upcoming week. Here's LeBron. Hello, LeBron.
LeBron, this is me. All right.
Oh, man,
Oh, no.
LeBron. I was ready to play. No, hold on.
Come on, LeBron.
I was ready to play along here until your buddy started laughing in the background.
Was that Bronny? You got Bronny back there?
That's
You guys
my
are watching some Big Noon
That's
Kickoff?
not fair. That's my son-in-law.
Oh.
And he's, he's just a douche, whatever. Or what?
Hey, what makes him a douche? What do you do?
He's a Missouri fan.
Oh,
why
okay,
is he?
that's
Why
right.
is he in
I
your
live
house?
Missouri.
Yeah.
You live in Missouri. Okay.
I'm questioning your you. But go ahead, LeBron.
Well, I definitely question myself a lot. I've seen bad football. That was horrible. I live in Missouri. I've seen bad football my whole life. What was it? Can we hire that Indiana coach? Like tonight? Just hire him. He just schooled Rule. And I'm sure Rule had a good press conference because he always does. I'm sure he answers every question with a right at the end. Like, hey, did you see what happened, right? God, that guy, he can't beat anybody better than him. He better be a good recruiter because he ain't beating anybody with the same talent or worse talent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all I got, because that guy, I hope he's wearing a clown suit home, because it's getting close to Halloween and he needs to wear one. That was horrible today. He got schooled by a team that shouldn't have done that to us. That was bad. I've seen some embarrassing stuff.
Was this more? Let me ask you, LeBron.
I mean, it's Scott Frost level embarrassment right there.
Well,
Scott Frost would have kept it one score.
I think this is the most embarrassing.
That's what I said. My whole family ripped me on that. And I was like, well, he would have kept.
Well, this is from the Nebraska perspective. The point differential is different, but in terms of embarrassment, this is on Georgia Southern level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was bad, and they got out schemed. They got out coached. That was horrible from the get go. Satterfield shouldn't be he should be an offensive coordinator for a junior high team, basically.
All right. LeBron,
that's
thanks.
it.
All right,
He's horrible.
Yeah, LeBron, thank you for the for
love
the
you
phone
guys.
call. I love
And
you too.
Quit letting Sharp do overreaction, because we lose almost every time.
Hey, you want to know something? Guess who's doing next week? Me.
God dang it.
Well, LeBron,
all
thank you. Thank you for the phone call. Ooh. Good afternoon, Rick. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline.
Love you guys. Hey, biggest thing I got is born and raised Nebraska boy. I'm a rooter of a different team, might be green and orange, and they're 7-0. But went to school with a lot of Husker boys.
Florida A&M.
My biggest disappointment is Miami. But anyway, at the end of the day, what disappoints me is you got beat by a team that had 32 different kids from different schools. You got beat by an underrated quarterback, and you got beat from a coach that is FBS, no disrespect, and you're in the Big Ten. I don't get that. And you're a 5-star quarterback. Not only that, why do you not take him out so he can see things that he's not seen? It just amazes me how far this program has fallen, and I really don't know if it'll ever come back, to be honest. I'll leave it on that. Thank you.
Right. Miami Rick.
Thanks for the
Appreciate
phone call.
One thought on kind of the same thing from those last two calls. The talent discrepancy has been significant, and we have talked about this over the past 2 years of Rule being the head coach, and it's part of his recruitment philosophy. Outside of Raiola, he specifically said that he wants to get guys that are great athletes and turn them into football players. We've also had the conversation about how this is a team and program that could start to maybe emulate a little bit more of like the past decade of Wisconsin and Iowa's, where they can find their way into really good seasons, but overall they're going to be, middle of the pack, above average. These are type of games that those programs have and have had over those years. And sometimes your talent deficiency shows, and Indiana just had way more talent today. And unfortunately for Nebraska, they were also far better coached. And that leads to a 49-point differential in the game.
I'll go a step further. By the way, Cignetti is any athletic director out there that hires a new head coach. Kurt Cignetti is changing the game on how quickly you can win as a first-year head coach in the new era of college football. I said this all week long, and this kind of came to fruition a little bit today. Indiana has more players that have experienced success than Nebraska has.
Yes.
All right. Here is Mike. Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.
Good afternoon, guys. And dang you guys have put like a wet blanket over just the thing I was going to talk about. I wanted to tell all Nebraska fans that I think as fans, we have sorely I think we looked at like our roster and who we had on our roster offensively and defensively and thought, yeah, I mean, this roster is stacked. This is the best roster we've had in a while. And I think we probably drank some of the Kool-Aid and thought that our roster is better than it actually was. To you guys' point, Cignetti brought 13 guys from JMU to his program that had a ton of success there that came over to Indiana. I mean, you could take it and say JMU had better players and probably still has better players at their school than Nebraska has at Nebraska. And that's just the sad part of it. I mean, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, right? I mean, if you want to win games and compete and compete for Big Ten championships or playoff appearances, you got to have the Jimmies and the Joes. And I hate to rag on certain groups, but this is, I mean, everybody always talks about in these broadcasts about how many starts our offensive line has. That's a problem because they've been around here long enough where they haven't had success. They've played really poorly, and then we just think because of the coaching change, they're going to play better. Honestly, they haven't. We don't have running backs that can, take a stretch play and turn it into a 35, 45, 50-yard, 60-yard touchdown run. We don't have that. To your points earlier, we don't. Nayor, good receiver. We get these receivers that come in. None of them can get separation. I was just telling a friend of mine earlier today, if you really want Dylan Raiola to take the next step, you have to have a kid like that freshman wide receiver at Ohio State or the freshman wide receiver at Alabama to come in and be able to give him a target that he can throw to, that can get open, that can run routes and have that timing with your quarterback. And again, those guys, the two guys, Banks and Nayor that we brought in are seniors. They'll be gone next year. Next year's year 3, I was telling the same buddy, you lose so many guys on defense next year. And this is such a senior heavy team as far as where the starters are at. I don't know that year 3, is really going to be that big of a stepping year where we're all of a sudden going to go and win 10, 11 games. I don't see it. They have to get on the ball with getting better talent here. I mean, I think that's just the bottom line.
The response, I think here's the big thing right now is what is the response of this football team? Whether it be next week at Ohio State, where there will be absolutely no one that gives them a chance to win the football game, and it's going to be ugly. And again, it's going to be with the big noon kickoff and the pregame show. What is the response to what happened today going into a game that no one's going to give you any chance? And then on top of that, Mike, is what is Rule's response to the deficiencies that he knew that they were there, but didn't try to go as long as possible with those being exposed? What's his response in terms of recruiting and fixing those, whether they work with him on a daily basis in the offices or they work with him on the practice field? That's the next step of what we figure out about Matt Rule, to me, is when you get squeezed, what comes out? What's your response? Back to your thing about the offensive line. I think on offense, I think from the media to the fans, we've all been truthful about what we're seeing. It kind of started with the Colorado game that, Nebraska's in trouble here because they got wide receivers that can't get separation. Maybe even in the UTEP game, but UTEP was fun. Yeah. The Colorado game, we went, wow, they might have guys that can't get off the line of scrimmage. This is going to be tough in a passing game that is so much on timing with a quarterback that has to work on timing. Is that going to throw everything off? Then the part about the offensive line is it's great to have all these starts and all this career games by the offensive line. But let's be honest. If you're a good offensive lineman in college football today, you're not in school past your 3rd year.
Oh, but Gary, every offensive lineman's an NFL starter, according to the head coach.
You're getting paid to play by that time.
Yeah, and to your point, I think too, a lot's going to be said about this team, and I think where it goes forward for the rest of the year. Like you said, I don't think anybody expects, even Nebraska fans, I don't think expect Nebraska to go out and beat Ohio State next week. But I know one thing: if they can go out next week and not get the doors blown off of them, that'll say a lot about the coaching staff and where maybe they're where they're at. But if they go out and lose another, and get rolled 66-10 like we have in the past and in the big,
it's not good.
It's back to the drawing board, I think.
Yep. You kind of you that one step you took forward, you took now 2, 4, 6, 7 steps backward. Mike, thanks for the phone call. It was a good call. Let's get Eric, and then we'll take a break. That opens the line at 402-951-1620. Hello, Eric.
Hey, good morning or good afternoon. I'm sorry.
It has been a long friggin' day.
Very true.
I don't know, man. It's whatever. I'm going to kind of continue talking about the offensive line, but it's kind of gradually been building throughout this season. Where you've seen it with it started with Colorado, like you said, and then Illinois, and then Rutgers. Like any team that has a serviceable defensive line, it's starting to you're starting to see the cracks are showing again. But let's just kind of go past that. The thing that I'm kind of not worried about, but I could see being a potential issue would be what do you do with Uncle Donnie? Because you got your quarterback there who's kind of, I mean, he gave us a hometown discount and everything, and he kind of has like a transient nature in his past. What do we do with Uncle Donnie if he's just not the guy? And where do they go? Where do they go after the season? If, I mean, let's be honest, Ohio State's going to do what they're going to do. Wisconsin will probably do what they're going to do against us. Iowa's going to be Iowa. What do we do with Uncle Donnie after the year? And how does that trickle down to the quarterback? So I'm just kind of curious if you guys have had any thoughts on that or whatever. But I mean, it's in the back of my mind. I know it's pretty dumb to think about, but I mean,
yeah, I mean,
these days. I mean, it's.
I understand where you're going, Eric. I'm not thinking about that right now.
Yeah.
But,
I'll say this. Here's the only thing is that Rule has said it before, and he says he doesn't do in-season firings. He feels that it messes up the chemistry of the team, and that he's a loyal guy. All the people that have been with him forever. So if the fan base truthfully believes that this is going to be an internal change, well, Matt Rule is going to have to make an internal change himself before that change comes. So it's going to have to come from that top down. It's not going to come from anyone like Troy Dannon. It's not going to be someone like a Trev Alberts that can walk in and say, hey there, buddy, I think we need to make some change here. It will come from Matt Rule if he so chooses to make that choice.
But as a counterpoint too, I think it'd be really nice to flush a few guys out of the program. Like I really think we might have something with 77, and I mean we had Mazuka, but he's not going to be here. But I mean I think we do have some decent younger guys, but I think it would be nice to flush a few of the guys. I mean, yeah, they've got a lot of starts, but they also got a lot of losses, and it would be nice to, I mean, maybe take our lumps and see what the new guys got. I mean, we already found out with our left tackle, like he's serviceable.
Well, we need to get out of this. And Eric, and Eric, thanks for the phone call. Today would have been a day that I thought Riley Van Poppel could have spelled a couple of guys, and he would have been fine. And I got to get out of this of, hey, let's preserve them 4 games, and only if there's injuries they're going to play. At the end of the day, you got to win some football games. And are there guys in your program that help you win football games that are not playing right now? But man, I like them during the bye week because they were ballers. Can they help you win right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, trying to think, hey, we want to preserve it. Riley Van Poppel, a game today, Riley Van Poppel would have been a nice guy to slip in there. Now, they double team Nash, and Ty didn't have a very good day. But you know what? There's a drop-off. Riley Van Poppel is close to their level. He's closer to the top 2 defensive tackles at Nebraska than he is like the 4th or 5th guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was uncomfortable when they said, we're gonna redshirt Van Poppel. I listened, but I thought, man, he's a guy that can help you on a weekly basis, even if it's for 10 to 15 snaps. Another thing that I was really, I don't know if you guys caught this, the communication problem for Nebraska on offense today was glaring.
Yes, 100%. I thought the first 5 passes were all receiver quarterback issues.
So Indiana it was chess and checkers in terms of seeing Nebraska's alignment and then adjusting where, there was one play, and it was pointed out by Joel Klatt. He tried to get Nair to move inside because they had 2 guys on the edge that were unblocked. And I don't know Nair, even in the first series, they weren't on the same. He blocked. So they ran an RPO that Nair blocked, who Nair was supposed to be the wide receiver on the RPO. Instead, he blocked. They were off on communication. There was a sack. There was a key sack in the first half where Nebraska had 6-man protection, and still the guy came unscathed right up the middle to sack Raiola.
Yep.
And the communication on offense was so odd. That first series, they weren't on the same page on routes that were supposed to be ran correctly. It just, I don't know, that maybe that was just a sign of this whole day that was going to happen, is Nebraska was just off But what worries me is they got punched in the mouth and then things went sideways
Mhm.
instead of punching back. Now they made it 14-7 and you're like, oh my God, thank you. But it didn't feel like, I felt, oh Jesus, now it's going to turn into a scoring derby and Nebraska's not consistent enough on offense to keep up.
Yep. On that same note, what you said about the receivers, the most obvious defensive pass interference in history was Illinois' on that Banks play towards the sideline when he tackled him out of bounds. But that was a telling sign of how Indiana was going to play the receivers because they pressed them at the line of scrimmage. There wasn't a safety back there to defend a deeper route from there. They knew that they could manhandle Barney, Nair, and Banks. There was nowhere that they were going to go to get off the line of scrimmage. The one receiver that could find intermediate success down the field was Thomas Fidone, who's 6'6" and 240 pounds and tried to shimmy and shake his way to 150 yards receiving today. But nonetheless, it's a more and more obvious and glaring issue that, one, the offensive play calling has not adjusted to either outcoach this glaring issue that the receivers cannot get open, that there's not other receivers that can get themselves open. And as you said earlier, in a timing offense, if you aren't on time, everything looks worse.
Yeah. I think the Nebraska offense was who they've been today.
Yeah.
I mean, they played closer to their identity.
Yeah.
It was the defense. When you say we trust our defense and your defense gets gouged by Indiana, then you're in trouble. But
Yeah.
I think what the offense showed today is actually who Nebraska's been offensively, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Kind of all the same things they have were there today. They just played against a team that executed, and thus those got even more magnified. All right, let's take a quick break. Charles, Craig, Jeff, Vince, all stay right there. Tennessee just missed a field goal. Milroe threw a pick in the end zone.
That was a bad throw. Bad.
He has one of those a game.
Yeah.
But Tennessee just drove down the field and missed a field goal. So scoreless there. Illinois is in the red zone. They are up 3-0 on Michigan. Austin will get you a scoreboard coming up here in the next segment. This program brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Also by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. And, of course, our good friends at Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Nebraska falls 56-7 today to Indiana. Kirk Cignetti's post-game press conference, I heard, is an absolute banger. If you aren't all in at IU, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. If you're only basketball, man, you got yourself a good football coach that the people in Gainesville might be really, really interested in when the season comes to an end. 56-7, more of your calls, more reaction on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg. Along with Peter Krinzer, Austin Jacobson, I'm Gary Sharp. It's Big Red Overreaction. Back to the calls we go. Here is Charles. Good afternoon, Charles.
Hey, how's it going, gentlemen?
Good. How you doing?
I could be doing better.
Yeah.
Do tell us your thoughts, Charles. What do you got?
No, I mean, here's the thing, guys. We've got the best volleyball program in the country. We've got Jordy Ball returning in softball. We've got the best basketball coach in Hoiberg. We have a lot to be thankful for as Husker fans. And who gives a damn if our football program sucks? Pardon my French here. But in my opinion, let's just let Rule recruit for the track program, and then we'll make a damn good track team. So that's all I got.
Hey, now, Charles, Nebraska has a good outdoor men's and women's team.
I know we do.
Yeah.
Rule's recruiting pretty darn good for him.
Yeah, he's got a couple.
At least the men's team, I should say.
Yeah.
All right, Charles. Thank you.
All right, Charles on there. Yeah, very good. Scoreboard update by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems experts. Not to further press down the panic button, but two of Nebraska's future opponents got wins today. UCLA 35 over Rutgers 32. And Wisconsin blasted Northwestern 23-3. Of course, the Friday night game was Oregon-Purdue in the Big Ten Conference. That was a 35-0 win for the Ducks. And it's still scoreless in Champaign, Michigan, and Illinois into the second quarter. USC, Maryland, tail end of the first quarter, still scoreless there on the East Coast. And, of course, we mentioned the SEC big matchup right now going on in Tennessee and Alabama.
That is
Scoreboard update by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems experts.
How's it going so far in your debut on Big Red Overreaction?
I feel good. You know, I mentioned before we got started, my mom, school psychologist, love her to death, Angie, and she said that this is a good experience for people to get their frustrations out, and it's a good way for us to vent what you're feeling. So use us as your medium to get your frustration out. Don't take it out when you go home. Don't make sure that, you don't punch it through your drywall or anything like that. Take it out on us on Big Red Overreaction. Sorry, you've been through enough of these. You're right. You don't need more of that.
Chris on email says, well, F it. Everyone is a good OC when you're calling plays for 11 5-stars like Alabama or Georgia. Satterfield needs better talent to call plays than he is at the wrong school. Matt writes in, how can Nebraska not have a field goal kicker again with millions of dollars in NIL money? How can Nebraska have a kid kick a 35-yard field goal? The first series down 7-0. Why go for it on fourth down all day? Putting points on the board creates confidence. College game day has kids on campus that kick those kicks. That's true. They should go to Eugene, where the kid was kicking last week. I don't know where John Hull would be right now because they have no confidence. The fact that they did not even trot him out there, and now we've gone, 2 weeks, 2 games? So last time he attempted a field goal was Purdue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not a great look. Other comments in the chat too. This has been a little frustrating for me to see this kind of come across the chat.
Nebraska volleyball is up 2-0 at Ohio State on national TV.
We do love to see that. But through the chat, a lot of people are getting down in the weeds about my talent comments, which I would argue for all of you watching that game, how do you not see the talent discrepancy between both sides, especially on the receiver end? And not only the talent, but also the ability to go after one-on-one contested catches, the ability to get off of man-to-man coverage. And on top of that, too, everyone keeps calling in and saying the same things about, Kirk Cignetti, these Sun Belt Conference players, these FCS-level players. These were Sun Belt Player of the Years. These were offensive players. Their quarterback was a MAC Offensive Player of the Year, a Player of the Year in his conference. And yeah, okay, it is not the Big Ten. When was the last time Nebraska had a Big Ten Player of the Week?
I think the thing to focus on here today, and this is a hat tip to Indiana. Indiana is not Ohio State level across the board. But my God, when you execute inside of a scheme that you have a ton of familiarity with on both sides of the ball, man, you got a chance to play at a high level. They
100%.
executed so well. I mean, I don't know, Austin, if you're into the PFF grades. They're going to be off the charts for Indiana. They just will be.
Yep, they will be. And their offensive line, phenomenal. They said it during the between Gus Johnson.
And they didn't do anything special today.
Yep.
They maybe threw a little bit more window dressing at you pre-snap, but other than that, they just played ball.
Yep.
They played ball. They played ball so much better than you played ball today. And if I'm a competitor, man, that sucks because you have to own that.
Yeah. But between Gus Johnson's 33 screams in the second half, they did mention that 4 of the 5 offensive linemen returned to this team. They had 2 guys that had draft grades that will get drafted next year, and they still had 3 JMU offensive linemen transfer in. I think that's the type of continuity you're probably looking for.
All right, 56-7, Indiana beats Nebraska, and Evan Cooper is back on Twitter today.
Yeah.
Here is Craig. Good afternoon, Craig. Craig, call back.
Hello?
So Evan Cooper has not been on Twitter since he left Nebraska.
No.
He has quote tweeted a Husker Twitter account. It's not what you think. You have it?
Yes, I do. So the original tweet says, Rule's making $7 million this year. You can't make $7 million and get embarrassed like that. To a first-year head coach, it just can't happen. That's a big Red Overreaction take. Evan Cooper, who his last tweet was June 26th, quote tweeted it and said, ungrateful, emotional, and nearsighted. His replies have some people blaming him for the loss, which is surprising because he can't really take that, but to each their own.
Here is, oh boy. How we doing, Vince?
Well, hey, I think they still got Indiana's coach on TV, Fox TV. He's still on TV. We're still talking about it. The worst fourth quarter I've ever watched of broadcasting, and believe me, I mean, I know the game was over and almost out of hand by the fourth, but G-Manny's Christmas, rub it in, not even talk about anything else. So I've been trying to listen, but because they were so focused on Indiana's coach, what did we get? Why did Coach Rule come out, get flagged? What was there a bad call? I missed it. I missed it. What was the call?
Yeah, he explained it a little bit in his post-game presser that he was showing the officials on an iPad a call that they missed, and that's technically a penalty. So the unsportsmanlike conduct was not anything of frustration. It's a bad look regardless, but it's still one that he called a conference over to him. And I guess you can't show an official like something from your telestration. So that's where the flag came out.
So I want to go back into listening to you guys and your shows back, 4 games ago. And, we had the wins and we're looking at it. And even I think I was starting to drink the Kool-Aid with Raiola and, golly, this guy's throwing. I was not buying the stuff. Oh, he looks like, a different quarterback of, different pro levels and stuff. But he had that look. They said, but wait till he gets to the Big Ten. And you guys nailed it. I mean, it's like, look at what's the scoring that he's done since then, the last 3 games? I mean, 7, there was a pick 6. So we got a victory, finally 14. And then you look at it and then you go, we only scored 7 points. I mean, if you told me yesterday Nebraska was going to get blown out like this, I was laughing at you going, no, we may lose, but that isn't going to happen. We're going to get points.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen. And that's what frustrates me the most is I'm looking ahead of the schedule and go, we may get that win. And we're choosing teams that we thought we were going to win. And now it's like, ugh. And we go, UCLA? Well, UCLA just knocked off Rutgers. So we're like, oh my gosh. I don't know. Where are we going with this now? I hope to get to a bowl game again. Not thinking, can we get those 7-8 wins?
Yeah. Said it well. Thank you, Vince. Appreciate that.
That is a big Red Overreaction call after you lose 56-7. That epitomizes calls.
That's pretty good. And
you're early here.
Yeah.
There are some worse
Much
ones.
better.
Arizona's just scored
14-6 now,
So-
awaiting the extra.
so, I mean,
These Arizona
question-
helmets are phenomenal.
Yeah, so watching
Oh, I do like
Colorado
this
14-7 on Arizona. I mean, the startling thing, you look in the mirror and you go, man, can Nebraska win a football game against a evenly matched or a little bit better than you team without winning it on the emotional side?
Gary, I've got
that Colorado game was so much emotional.
More philosophical question here. I was thinking about it on the way down here, listening, to the final quarter of the game. If it's not labeled Indiana, is this a different feeling on a 56-7 loss? If you replace it to Ohio State and this happens again next week, do you still feel as bad as it is? But is it because this was like the national conversation coming in, right?
Okay, so I mean, on my show, I established Indiana's a good team. I don't care about their schedule. They play football the right way, and Cignetti is a winner. They have a good scheme. They execute. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. They're doing things well. They're a good football team. Now I'm thinking, man, they might be a very good football team. I think it's, again, I'm going to go back to something I said at the beginning, Austin. This is a Nebraska discussion. This is why didn't Matt Rule, who all week gave you the indication that he knew something that you didn't, but for the positive, why didn't he see coming what happened today?
Mm-hmm.
What is the disconnect? Because this isn't the first time of what happens during the week. On Saturday, when the lights turn on, everybody gets a deer in a headlight look, whether you are in a helmet or a headset. And all of a sudden, everything that you probably repped during the week goes out the window. I can't believe that they have worked on kickoffs and Ja'Cory Barney catches it in practice and steps out at the 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way in God's green earth that that's happening.
Yeah.
But why does it happen in a game? So what's the disconnect there? And then I sent out a tweet. Remember back at the first open scrimmage way back in August when Rule stopped practice with people in the stands and was ticked off that why can't they perform when there are people watching? Now, it might have been very subtle at the time. We all kind of went, oh, okay. But then remember, he didn't have anybody at scrimmages. And we were like, oh, maybe that's a Rule thing. Now I'm wondering, wow, was this thing on the big stage that guys get stage fright, I guess?
Yep.
Is this true? I mean, has this been there the whole time? And then when they play two of the really good teams on their schedule that are not built on, we're going to win that game because we friggin' are playing on emotion like CU. When you play Illinois and Indiana, this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. I'll give this point too, and I had said this when I filled in for you with Hanley back in August, that everything that we see documented, Chasing 3, all of the social media, the press conferences, everything that comes in, Rule has conveyed a message through the preseason and these first 6 games of the year leading into this blowout loss that, oh, this team is doing this, and these are these things, and this guy's an NFL guy, and all these different misconstrued stories. And however you want to take those, he has led you a direct line into the program, making you feel like you have every insight and every knowledge of it. But clearly there are also things that he knows he's shielding from his team that are huge detriments. And it's obviously the special teams that he's had to answer for now for 2-3 straight weeks, that he's had to continue to talk about some of his guys that he's called NFL talents, first-round talents, guys that are supposed to be in the league in April getting picked that aren't playing up to snuff. And he's going to have to start defending a little bit of that discrepancy between him and other assistant coaching staffs and their ability to coach up talent.
So before we get back to the calls, let me pose this here about coaches, because this happens. Now, Ed Foley, I mean, maybe he's just the ambassador and he drives around the state and eats at your diner and he tweets pictures. I don't see Matt Rule getting rid of Ed Foley.
Yeah.
I see Matt Rule finding somebody that would hire Ed Foley so he doesn't have to make that move. But the football IQ on the special teams is god-awful.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Taylor-Britt took a knee, and it was a safety against Illinois in 2021. Yes, 2021, and we all lost our mind.
Yep.
What Ja'Cory Barney did today is, you know what? It's okay to catch that kickoff, but be standing out of bounds because that's a penalty. That is a penalty. But you tried to catch it knowing that the 1 yard line is there. And I mean, I don't get that. And then to begin the second half, the 2 kickoffs that were misplayed. Then there was a low snap that led to a bad punt by Buschini. The football IQ is so poor on special teams. So I don't see that. But where I'm going to go, because there's a lot of people today that have already called in and they're going to hit us up and continue to hit us up, and they get on social media about Marcus Satterfield. And we all say, well, we don't know. I mean, Sat's his guy.
Yeah, it is.
Sat's his guy. There are 2 guys that are in the trust tree. Foley opens the door for people to come and climb the tree, but there is Rule, there was Cooper, and there was Sat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who might be able to push along change with an OC? Dylan Raiola.
It's a good point.
It's
a good point.
Here is Jeff. Jeff, welcome to Big Red Overreaction.
Hello, gentlemen. Austin,
Hello,
you're doing a great job for your first time on.
Nice.
Look at that.
I think your calmness and your overwhelming attitude might be helping keep Gary a little in check. I think he's ready to go.
I appreciate Austin and what he's doing. He is calm over there.
Well, yeah, I got a little tense in the
Those
neck
are
there
some
earlier.
incredible Crocs you got.
Yeah, I thought about the Bush Light Crocs, but decided it was too soon for that. But Jeff, what do you got for us? Thank you. I appreciate the
Well,
compliment, by the way.
you know, after so long being either on hold or waiting, everybody says kind of what you're wanting to say. But one of the big things I wanted to discuss is like, if we thought 9 or 10 wins coming into the season, we might have been fooling ourselves. But you know, this staying on 5, our expectation should, could, and can be, let's just get another win, go to the, you know, Crockpot Chili Bowl, whatever it is for the low end Big Ten teams. But
Love that name for
that is great.
Are we? I don't.
Sounds like a good
whatever
bowl.
it is these days. Dump chili on the winning or the losing coach. But where is this going to come? Because now it's like we were talking before the season. We'll be 6-0, 7-0 going to Ohio State. Now we're just going to be on hold on the 5th or 6th win for the rest of the season, maybe. Don't know.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I have to say about any of it, Gary, you said it earlier, this feels like Georgia Southern, not the anger, but like the pit of my stomach. Ugh, what did I just watch?
Yeah.
Biggest thing.
And it does have that feeling of where do you go from here, right?
Yeah, that's probably
because
the
it's
best way of saying
it feels like rock bottom.
You better go somewhere, or you're gonna get your teeth kicked in next week off a team that is a loss and a bye.
Yeah,
and then they see a wounded animal.
Yeah,
the response to this week will tell you a lot about Matt Rule's program on what they do in Columbus. I'm not saying the victory, but just the reaction and how they look next week. Because if it looks even worse than it did today, damn, November is going to be awful cold around here.
I will say that's what's worrying me the most, because we just had a bye.
Yep.
And watching this game, I don't know what they worked on.
Yep.
What did they work on?
Yep. Appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you. And Gary, you tweeted it, but that was something, and Jeff just said it. What improved? Nothing. There was no part, except I guess maybe they just ran dig routes for Thomas Fedoni for 10 days. That's about the only thing I could say that was significantly better coming into this matchup. And Cignetti had mentioned that, their tight end is tall and big. Their receivers are physical. Schiano had mentioned their receivers are physical. This team is black and white. It's very obvious what they are. There are no wrinkles. There's nothing new. There's nothing after 7 weeks of offense and defensive play for all the creativity that Tony White is usually accredited for. It was vanilla. I mean, there was nothing new. There was no differences. There was an end around to Isaiah Nair that looked like the slowest end around in the history of offensive play calling that I've seen. Mm-hmm. And you look at some of the other wrinkles that seem to come into this game. At what point, after you've thrown the ball 38 times heading into the fourth quarter when you're down multiple scores, do you realize maybe we don't have as creative a running game as we've told ourselves we have? When you face a 3rd and 1 repeatedly on your opening drive or your opening 3 drives and can't get down the field and do anything more than just belly and single back dive, what more are you supposed to do? The best run play they had arguably today was a Heinrich Harburg 9-yard option run.
And Harburg had the longest run of 13. You make a good point. And I want to go to a little bit of a garbage time. They got into the red zone where they got stopped and they had Harburg at quarterback. Yeah, they had Harburg quarterback and Ives was in the game. There was no creativity in the red zone.
No.
Even on that, and probably Indiana, I'm not going to say they would concede a touchdown, but Indiana didn't have their main guys out there. They have okay running backs. They have okay offensive linemen. Their best perimeter blocker really doesn't play much at wide receiver, and that's Alex Bullock.
Mm-hmm.
Banks and Nair are not really interested in blocking, and thus they're kind of throwing stuff at the wall if Dillon is not cooking. Because look at it was the end around, right?
Yep.
Where if you don't trust a non-offensive lineman to seal a block, why in the friggin' hell in the red zone do you run that play?
Yep.
You are just setting up disaster.
And even on the next play that Barney does get the 1 score of the touchdown, the execution is nearly flawless in the design of the play for Fedoni to seal off a block and Harburg to run around. And your perimeter blocking tight end can't block a single cornerback that he outmatches by 80 pounds.
And then on the next play, he locks onto his man and they score a touchdown.
Yes.
I would love to know, because I really think with this offense, and today was about execution. The scheme and execution of Indiana was so much superior to anything Nebraska put out there. but I would like to see some of the, this is the football nerd. Okay, this is the play that was called, and this is what is supposed to happen. All right, now roll the film and let's watch what here, because the play calling and the execution are not aligned.
Yep.
And thus the margin of error is so small that, man, Nebraska needs everything to go right. It seems like from the correct play call to the execution to be able to just move the ball. It is so clunky compared to a quarterback. And this is the fifth-year guy against a 19-year-old freshman of everything moves smooth and it's in rhythm and it's got a feel to it. Once Nebraska gets off kilter, they're done offensively. But when they have success and all of a sudden they start to go tempo, it really helps their run game. And I really think it helps their quarterback. But there are so few of those times where they stay on schedule that they can run tempo. And it just seems like they click a little bit more, that when they have to think about it and they slow things down and they huddle, it seems like that's where we get breakdowns.
Yep. And I think the most frustrating part of that too, and you make a great reference between Raiola to Rorik, is even with Rorik getting injured, whether it's Rorik changing play calls at the line because he's an experienced quarterback with 5 years in higher level college football, or their offensive coordinator who is going to be a pretty good offensive coach coming forward. He's probably going to be one of the hot names this upcoming offseason. By the way, great name in Mike Shanahan. Who would have thought? You got two Mike Shanahans in the world, offensive minds. But regardless, when your quarterback gets injured and can't throw the ball the way that he wants to do, you pivot and change and still have success. When Raiola got a little dinged up in this contest for whatever it could have been or whatever it was, they just go right back to the exact same thing. They had no alternate option. And I know that game was already out of hand. It was 28-7 by the time that happened. But you had no alternative option than to say, save us, Dylan. Put it in your hands and do something with it.
Yeah, Dylan's best friend isn't Marcus Satterfield. It's not Banks. It's not Nair. It's not Fedoni. It's not Bryce Benhart or Micah Mazuka. Dylan Raiola's best friend is the running game.
Yep.
And his best friend isn't returning his calls. All right, Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Alabama just picked off. Is Nico injured? He might be injured.
It looked like he went down earlier. I'm not sure if they swapped him.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Well, no, he did. He threw that.
He doesn't
pick.
look right, though.
Yeah. Oh, the backup threw that pick. So Alabama's up 7-0. They're starting to move the humidor with all the cigars on the third Saturday in October into the Alabama locker room. This program is brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally. Also, Dingman's Collision Center, mechanical repair, and No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. The number to get in on the program, the chat with Austin and myself, the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline, 402-951-1620. Quick break. We'll come back. We'll roll through Chris, Charles, Scott, and Fred on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. There's Austin Jacobson making his debut on Big Red Overreaction. What he doesn't know is that he can be filling in for me next week. I'll be back for the Ohio State game.
Just tell me to come in whenever you need me, Gary.
Now 11-44 in the history of the Big Red Overreaction. I was the one that came up with the idea. Yeah. But you know what?
You came up with this idea?
Yeah.
You cursed yourself.
Yeah, you'll hear about it on the 25th anniversary of 1620 The Zone, how Big Red Overreaction became a thing.
Okay.
I think we should cancel the show.
Okay.
Here is, back to the phones. We go, the Jason and Contracting Hotline. Here is Charles. Hello, Charles.
Oh, Charles, how dare you?
Okay.
It does give us a chance. Let's go through a quick scoreboard just through the area. Scoreboard brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems expert. A couple of scores going final from those 11 a.m. kickoffs. Number 6, Miami, stays undefeated, 52-45. Their win. Army wins 45-28 over East Carolina. Clemson takes down Virginia, 48-31. Right now in the end second quarter, Navy leading Charlotte 38-10. Alabama's up 7-0 over Tennessee. Illinois up 13-0 at the 2-minute timeout over Michigan. Notre Dame leads 14-7 at halftime on the road against Georgia Tech, and Texas A&M and Mississippi State tied at 7. Just some top 25 matchups there. Again, your scoreboard brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems experts.
All right. Thank you, Austin. Back to the phones we go. Here is Scott. Hello, Scott. Uh-oh.
Scott, are you there?
All right. Scott, call back.
Jeez, everyone's getting nervous.
Peter, 2 and 3 may be a little wonky. You might want to watch this.
Okay.
All right. Here is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, man. I just wanted to call in. I listen to the show all the time. Hey,
thank you.
I maybe think that, I don't know, just saying it could be a little bad karma from getting rid of Bo Pelini because of his attitude and Frank Solich, so we might have a little bit of this coming back.
Hey, hold on, Chris. Hey, first of all, you know what? You bringing up Frank Solich and Bo Pelini before anybody has brought up the all-white uniforms today, man.
I knew you were going with that, Gary. I knew you were going to do it.
You deserve an extra minute on the air. Go ahead.
Well, listen, guys. You know what? I think they're still young. You know, that kid. He was in high school last year. You know, he's doing the best he can, and they're still building. I mean, they were running a different offense last year with Harburg. They were running more of an option, which I like better, but they went this route. So, you know, they're in all actuality, this is the first year of that offense that they're really running because they're throwing a lot more than they have been. And I really never saw much of these plays last year from the coaches and the team. You know, so I'm thinking, you know, everybody wants to call up and, well, let's start getting rid of people. We'll start. That's not the answer.
So let me
gotta leave it alone.
Let me ask you this, Chris. What you're saying about guys on the big stage for the first time, I'm listening.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. The guys that are the oldest guys in the program had the worst days.
Yes.
Right.
On the other side of the ball.
Right. But that has a lot to do with the Scott Frost era too. You know what I mean? That's still in that makeup a little bit. You know what I mean? He's trying to. They're trying to get it out. I just think they need Marcus Satterfield. Do they need to run the football more? Yeah, absolutely. They can't put all the pressure on that kid all the time. But on the other hand, I think if we go in and start, Nebraska fans just got to take it easy and just let this guy build. Let's let him have some time. Let him build. You know, I know this was a terrible, terrible whipping today, but I mean, if you get new coaches and new offensive coordinator, that's just going to set you back another 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
I don't know. I don't know about a coordinator.
I would say
coordinator change would set you back. It's just, are they running after assessing the personnel they have that will be returning? Do they have the right scheme to be successful? And if they say yes, why is the execution not there? I mean, these are hard questions that they have to ask, but you have a window here with a quarterback who you can do things with, but do you have the right pieces around him? And then do you have the ability to run the friggin' football at the University of Nebraska?
That's the number one thing right there. I mean, we should never, ever be asking that in this state.
No,
ever.
no.
Yeah, that's a great point.
No. Chris?
That should be a given. That should be a given. And they got manhandled today on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks for the phone call. Yep. Here is Fred. Hello, Fred.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I'm calling from your old stomping grounds there, Gary, Fort Myers.
Yes.
But, yeah, this is just cheaper than therapy, I guess. But so I appreciate you taking my call. I guess my biggest frustration is that when I think of Marcus Satterfield, and I gave him, and I'm not a guy to just jump on coordinators and play calling. And last year, he was trying to make, filet mignon out of bologna.
Mm-hmm.
But what frustrates me, I get the sense that it's like going to Cheesecake Factory, and the menu's 40 pages, and we get full but with the appetizers and never get to the meatloaf. And if we're going to put so much focus on that perimeter dink dunk game, then why are we so bad at perimeter blocking? I mean, we just keep going. We were getting 6-7 yards of crack, with the traps up the middle, and then we'd go right back to the perimeter game, and we can't block. Or we would put a guy out there who can't break a tackle with no blocking. It just feels like, it's an Xbox controller, and there's just too damn many buttons, and we don't do anything well. Obvious point. But I think the thing that the most hurtful thing anybody could say, and I've heard it 100 times today if I've heard it once, is this Indiana team's for real. Well, this Indiana team was James Madison 12 months ago. And if they're real, why the hell aren't we? That's the thing and I know it's the $64 question, but I just feel like this team is mentally still, there's still a need for too many guys that need a lobotomy or whatever. I don't know. But I guess I put this loss really squarely on the shoulders of the coaches today because they weren't ready to play, but it just feels like I'm all over the map, I know, but we got a kid that can throw the ball 70 yards on a rope, and he's throwing 3-yard, passes. He's checking down all the time. We got 6'4" receivers who can't get, separation. And I don't know. I'm ready to see Dylan step into a throw and just put a hole through a guy.
His mechanics the last 2 weeks have been really, really poor, Fred. I think there was some tell.
We're regressing. We're regressing on all fronts.
Well,
and that's kind of becoming a tradition for us.
I didn't think that Nebraska would make it this far without having a true identity on offense. Now you can be snarky and say, yeah, they kind of do, but you know where I'm getting at in terms of an identity to be successful. There were some tells in this game. Nebraska has no trust in their field goal kicker, and they have no trust in their wide receivers on a consistent basis because a lot of the targets were going to running backs, and a lot of the targets were barely 5 or 6 yards down the field. The one time in the second half that Dylan threw it down the field longer than about, 10, 15 yards, got picked.
Other way.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like we're regressing.
Yeah.
Everybody else is getting better. We talk about it's us, it's not them. It's all about us and what we're doing. And I don't see improvement. I mean, I know our schedule's getting tougher, but if it's all about us, why are we regressing?
Yeah.
Fred, thanks for the phone call. The beautiful Fort Myers.
When I was in high school, we had a great, excellent coach who told us that if we just ran the system right, we'd win every game and we'd score touchdowns and no one would ever score on us. Does it feel like Marcus Satterfield has that same philosophy with his offense that, man, if you guys just did it right, or if we had the most talented players at every position, this would work? Because I don't know if that's true.
Well,
it feels, and your point about the checkdowns, the inability to throw downfield, obviously some of those are talent-based. It's the difference in the offensive line giving you time. There's layers to this, right?
Yeah.
But if you can think in your mind, and obviously it's an upset Husker fan base right now, it's hard to imagine this, but wake up Sunday morning and truthfully think, if you think that Nebraska gets 5 stars across the board at every position and Dylan Raiola is your quarterback, does Marcus Satterfield's offense still brew success, or do the same struggles still happen here? It's an honest thing to think about.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There's the other part of this offense, don't you think, is we spent a lot of the offseason going, man, I like the way they're constructing the offense because DR15 is not the main focus in his freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that last? Half a game?
So
when you have a freshman that's going through it, and then gets dinged up a little bit in this game is, okay, now we know that he's, maybe he's got a bum ankle and he's going through it a little bit, but don't worry. We got, we'll hand the ball off and we're going to be able to shorten the game and then let Dylan pick his spots. And all that stuff went out the window about halfway through UTEP when we saw that he has the ability, and we're like, that needs to be the main focus of the offense. But we spent about 5 months going, I like what Nebraska's doing here. DR15 doesn't have to carry the load. I mean, the honest truth is he's got to do everything.
Yep.
And when he is not Superman, the whole offense just seems to just break down.
Yep.
And it's jumbled and it's clunky
And I know I've said this a couple of times, but if you look at one side of the ball to the other, Indiana's offense to Nebraska's offense, how many times did Nebraska's offensive running backs receivers get tackled one-on-one in space or with plenty of room to wiggle? Indiana's one-on-one was almost every time they would break the initial contact or tackle. Every time. I'm not sure that other than maybe a couple of Isaac Gifford plays, there wasn't a time when Nebraska had a one-on-one tackle in space, in a gap, whatever you want to call it. And for your point on the running backs as well, it didn't matter who was in there. All 4 running backs played today. They all had carries.
Yeah.
None of them broke away. Not a single one.
All right. Here is Jason on the Jason Contracting Hotline. Good morning, Good morning. Good afternoon, Jason.
There we go.
Jason's not.
Hello?
Oh, there you go.
There you are, Jason.
Oh, there we are. Oh my God, I'm driving.
Well,
listen, the sky is not falling. It's a process with the freshman quarterback. He's gonna make mistakes, and he did today, obviously. And their offense revolves around him, but I mean,
Are the right pieces in place, whether they're wearing a helmet or a headset, around him to help
I tell
him?
you what, I've been screaming all year long. Get the tight ends on the scene. Will you please throw to the tight ends, and it'll open the field up. And they just today they tried with Fedoni, and I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to a bowl. The whatever bowl it's going to be to.
Crockpot chili.
They're going to get whacked.
Well, I'm
sorry.
They first and foremost they have to get the 6.
Yep.
I mean, they have to be playing football in the middle of December, or they need to be practicing in the middle of December.
Yes, that gives them a whole lot of momentum to next year. But I tell you what, it's going to get ugly. Ohio State next week. Oof.
Yeah, I don't. They need creativity on offense, and I just don't know where you're going to find creativity.
Yep.
I mean, personnel aside, you gotta. It's not an offense that one hand shakes the other, and then they turn like you're in church tomorrow. And when they have the sign of the peace, and you turn, and then you shake the hand of the person behind you, and then you turn and you shake the.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a trickle down. Everybody's shaking hands.
Yeah.
It almost seems like Nebraska's offense. You turn to shake the hand of the person next to you, and they give you the pound, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's that awkward moment.
Speaking of offense, got a text in from Marshall saying, call him crazy. Did we throw 2 sideline throws today total? Both were called PI, no shots deep, and we don't have to be so GD cute. I don't actually remember, other than the interception, and you said it a bit earlier too, was there a design play to go down the field? I'm not sure that there actually was. If it was taken away very quickly because it felt like DR was not really going anywhere down further than 15 yards.
I think they took one big shot. I think that was about it.
Yeah.
But it just there were some tells on offense of one, whatever semblance of what they were doing in their last possession of the first half, maybe try and think about a drive.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the play calling was with the clock and having timeouts and thinking we cannot let Indiana get the ball back because you got a guy on the other sideline that he doesn't care if you are his brother coaching on the other sideline. He's going to kick you.
Yeah.
And he's going to try and run it up on you. So you have to kind of have that mentality. Mm-hmm. And what happened is Indiana almost put in the end zone at the end of the first half because you allowed them to get the ball back. That's a tell on oh my God, what are we going to do?
Yep.
And then the tell of there were a lot of running back targets in the second half that were like between the range of 3 to 6 yards past the line of scrimmage. One more call and then we'll take a break. Here is Kyle. Good afternoon, Kyle. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction on the Zone and the Keg.
Hey guys, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great.
We're doing well, Kyle. Thanks for the phone call.
Hey guys, I got something. I don't. After the last game, my biggest concern for the offense was the O-line. Today, what do you guys think? I didn't think the O-line looked that bad today. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Okay, I'll give it this. In a 56-7 loss, the offensive line at times I felt was overwhelmed by strategy from Indiana. They aggressively brought blitzes on first, second, third, and longs. Anything longer than 10 yards, they wanted to bring pressure. On third and shorts, fourth and shorts, they brought extra pressure. But technically sound, I didn't feel that they played overtly well. There was a lot of interior defensive line play that got behind the line of scrimmage and forced bounces outside, forced tackles. I felt like they had some moments, but those moments were few and very, very far between.
Okay. I will say I don't think that was the worst part of the Huskers' play today. Second thing I will have to say, one Husker I have to condone today, Thomas Fedoni. That guy had a game today.
This was his best game. This was the most involved he was in the entire season. He had 8 targets. He had 6 catches. My God, throw the friggin' screen, the tight end screen out of the playbook. They got him downfield a little bit more. Here's the thing with Fedoni, though, Kyle. We are all clamoring for more tight end activity. And, I mean, Carter Nelson was on the field, had a target, did not make a catch. I think you have to get it to Fedoni where he's open, because Fedoni is like a cargo ship. Turning he's not going to create things on his own. But I did like that they have him involved. I don't know what they're trying to do with the tight end game. And they may not have the right guy to expand the field with the tight end. That guy is called Carter Nelson. But Fedoni is a good valve, and I like that they got him involved today.
Yep.
Okay, another thought I have for you guys.
By the way, Kyle, Nebraska only ran for 2.4 per carry. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm going to move on to my next thought.
All right, that's fine.
Next thought for you guys is the last few years, as a Husker fan, something I'd like to hang my hat on is our Husker defense. I'm not sure how I feel about the only team Indiana scored more points against this year was Western Illinois. But
they were awful today,
sure
Kyle. Kyle, there's no beating around the bush.
Yep.
Nebraska's defense, which you put all kinds of trust in coming into this game, they were awful.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add this too, Kyle. I'm not sure that this was a game that Kurt Cignetti came out saying we're going to put as many points as possible to put like a national standard on. I know he said it in the press conference. I think Indiana just executed to score 56 points.
Nebraska didn't tackle.
This wasn't a blowout.
The tackling in the first half was an abomination.
Yeah, this wasn't a chance for Indiana to run up the score because they were on Big Noon Kickoff in a national TV broadcast to go to 7-0. This was a game that they scored 56 points and should have put up 63 if they read Mekhi Bayard blitzing up the middle on 4th and 1 in the first quarter.
Okay. Next thought, our special teams this year, absolutely ridiculous.
I agree.
This is just getting embarrassing for the Husker fans here.
It is.
Final thought, I don't really need a response on the last one. Matt Rule in his press conference says the Huskers players shouldn't be embarrassed of how they played today. I disagree. This is an embarrassing game for any Husker player. I'm going to hang up now and just listen to you guys talk on this.
Kyle, thank you.
Appreciate it, Kyle.
Thanks for the phone call.
Yep.
Didn't he say I'm embarrassed?
Yeah, he said.
Wasn't that his first word?
Rule said I'm embarrassed.
He never included the
I
players.
don't
know where he said the
think
players.
later on in the presser he said I'm not embarrassed for our guys, but
I think that pertained to. You're right, Peter. I think that pertained to. They didn't quit.
Yeah,
Like, he didn't
yeah.
go into
it's
extra
along
The
the
never
lines of
the
that.
never doubted character. Guys went to battle. We're gonna get a little better next week. All those cliches, coach speak. But these are things that I believe Matt Rule believes in and his team believes in. I'm not on the team. I wasn't in Bloomington. It wasn't a rocking crowd. That they quit. It looked like they quit. When the score got out of reach, it looked like the team had just kind of foregoed the expanse of trying to see what else could happen. And part of it was how well Indiana played throughout that game, but it did not feel as if Nebraska was really giving it their all to try to see what all they could figure out. It was the same plays, the same play calling, and the same result each and every time they went back to bat on offense or defense.
I got to go back to this quote I want to share. The Butler quote. Oh, I don't think I have it. Oh, no. Said after the game, the defense struggled with confidence today. Sometimes things don't go our way and our heads get down.
Yeah.
That's a veteran side of the
yes.
ball,
Mhm.
but that's a young guy that is making that observation and is part of your heads got down. I thought, honestly, after they got punched in the mouth on the opening drive by Indiana, where they converted that long third down that was buoyed by missed tackles, and then they scored via a rushing touchdown. So for the first time in 7 games, you'd given up a rushing touchdown. I didn't like Nebraska's response defensively because they came out there and it's almost, you could see they got down. They're like, we could be in for a long day at the office, instead of, you know what? It's the opening drive. We're not going to let that happen again. Like, things that they preach were completely different today. But now I got to go back and think about Illinois week, when some of the things Illinois did and some of the things that players said after the game, and everything is aligning on the 2 toughest games and the 2 most dynamic offenses that Tony White has coordinated against, that have put up gigantic numbers on Nebraska.
Yep. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again now. Nebraska's a hot and cool defense. And I usually don't say it with the defense, but when they come out and they can play well, or they're given opportunities against a maybe lesser offense, they will stand up. They will, make goal line stands and 6 plays against Rutgers. They will take it to Colorado when they get up and early at them. But as soon as the stuff hits the fan against them and they get into a hole, they dive further into the hole, it feels like. Illinois, they couldn't get off the field in key moments in the final second half and overtime. And then, of course, this entire day, from the beginning, as soon as that rushing touchdown went in, it's almost as if the guys just walked off the field and said, well, what are we playing for today?
Why do you think that Nebraska has no element of a quick game in their passing game right now?
They can't. I mean, a quick passing game relies on either the defense playing a zone behind it, so that way you can read and find where you're getting open, or it relies on you getting off the ball and being able to make a quick play if they're pressing you. Indiana pressed 90% of this contest. I don't have PFF. That's the Austin. That's the AFF grade. But if you don't have receivers who can get off, because again, timing, quick pass. If you don't have guys who can get open, you can't throw a quick ball.
Do you think you also have the limitation, and this isn't new, is that no one respects Dylan to run an RPO or anything like that?
I thought that on the Harburg option because, Gus Johnson in all his wisdom did mess up thinking it was Raiola, but it was Harburg. And when option happens and you have an RPO game and your quarterback can run, it opens up a little bit more because everyone's looking at 2 players to go one way. That's the reason why high schools run the veer with their best offensive player running the football at quarterback, because you want that guy to have total control of where the ball is going to go. So unfortunately, you just used your bye week to open up passing lanes for who knows who. But Dylan Raiola may just, as you said earlier, maybe just hand the keys to the car to Dylan and see what could happen. And if you trust that Dylan is your best offensive playmaker, he's got to be able to make the decisions for the offense.
Jesus, Indiana running the RPO in the red zone. Oh, be still my heart if I'm a play caller. This program is brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, also by No Name Nutrition, live a better, healthier, more natural life, and our good friends at Equitable Bank who have been with us throughout. We take banking personally. Old man Doug and the gang at Equitable Bank. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. There's so many tweets and stuff, so we'll try and get through those emails. Thanks for everybody that's involved in the program. I know the chat is just going berserk. Andy, Jaron is back. Luke, John, we'll get to you when we come back on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone. All right, 56-7 Indiana. We doing some exercises over there?
Well, yeah, Nebraska rifle won over Ole Miss and Navy. Reason to celebrate. And then volleyball swept. So I don't know what everyone's so upset about. Seems interesting.
We had a call earlier that said, do not focus on football, that we should focus on the other sports. Drake DeGrassi, Drake for DeGrassi, good dude who has been heard here on the zone, tweets, and we've been going back and forth. Great conversation. I really like his content. He said, a friendly reminder, Nebraska's only scored 7 points against Power 4 teams in the second half, not named Purdue. So Nebraska got shut out in the second half again today. There's also Nebraska, to me, their ceiling on offense seems to be 28 points. Since Marcus Satterfield has been here, Nebraska against Power 4 competition, the highest point total, 31.
That ain't good.
No.
Ain't good.
No. Here we go. As Austin referred to, we've got the Bible people online here. Let's first start with John.
The book of John. John, what do you got?
Hello?
Oh, that book was silent.
John the Baptist is left. Here is, was that fair? Could I do that? Luke, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so couple of things. So the first thing, and you guys were kind of already addressing this a little bit earlier, but I saw some people tweeting about this during the game as well. But it seems like so a lot of the issues offensively, you guys were talking about, if you had 5 stars at every position on offense, would Satterfield's offense still work? Would it still be efficient? Would it be effective, and all that kind of stuff? And throughout the game, I was noticing a lot of people were tweeting about how Indiana does a ton of pre-snap motion, and they're the window dressing that Indiana does before pre-snap is pretty well done. And my question is, does Marcus Satterfield almost rely too much on saying is he confused in terms of thinking that we have more individual talent than we do? And he's relying on guys on getting the ball in guys' hands and expecting them to make plays when we don't have guys like that anymore.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I had this thought during the game too, because
great observation. Luke.
The offensive a favorite play calling experience from the Sunday morning quarterbacks are always on the couch saying just get the ball into your best player's hands, which generally speaking is a good philosophy, but I'll give him this. He did try to get the ball into multiple people's hands. We talked about the end around to Nair, the different dump off passes and mesh routes going to Barney, different opportunities to get Fedoni in the game. I don't know if it's trying to just single out and say, hey, we have to get the ball to this guy. We need to single out Barney on the outside to make sure that he gets opportunities. Or if it's just overall, it's just too much of the same. Because, I know we're Husker fans. We've seen all these plays before, but was there anything new that we saw from Satterfield today coming out of a bye week that could have prepared Indiana's defense a little more? It felt like everything Indiana saw today is probably what they practiced for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing too, I agree with everything you said there. And the other thing too that I wanted to real quick mention, I'll hang up and listen to you guys, is it seems like too often, it seems like we saw this a little bit with Illinois, and we definitely saw it today with Indiana. It almost seems like their offensive systems accentuate the talents that their players have. I don't get the sense that our offensive system does that. And like I said, I'll hang up and I'll listen to you guys answer that question. Thanks, guys.
Nope.
Yeah, great call. Great call. I like that thought. What's one thing that we heard from Marcus Satterfield during his first media conversation when he was hired 2 years ago? Oh, I'm on this revolution to bring back the huddle, to bring back the fullback, to make football this version again. I didn't see Barrett Liebertritt on the field once today, I don't think. I didn't see that version of Satterfield's offense. I don't know what version in his mind and in the playbook he foresees this going on. But does it just make it as simple moving forward that you just say, hey, we got to get the ball out to these guys and we're going to do it how X, Y, and Z? I'm not sure what that answer could be, especially when you're this far into your season and the adjustments can be minimal at best.
I don't know. I'm going back to the first possession. So Barney steps out at the 1. You're already down 7-0. So you're like, uh-oh, we're going to be in it for today.
Yep.
This is going to be a shootout, man. We might not be able to play the game in a phone booth. We might have to turn into a track meet. I mean, Satterfield is not talented enough calling plays that if guys don't execute or they're not on the same page, or guys like if you go back to the first couple of plays that Nebraska ran today, it just seemed like there was miscommunication. Nair was not in the right place, or you're running a semi RPO and he's blocking when he actually is the guy that should be the wide receiver. And then it turned into, you have the 3rd and 1 that you got to have. And Dylan made a nice throw, and Fedoni catches it. So you move the sticks, and all of a sudden they become Air Nebraska.
Yep.
And they throw 3 straight passes. Then when you get the ball back after Bayor makes the sack on 4th and 2, you start throwing again.
Yep.
You start throwing the ball, and you're fortunate you got a DPI on there. And then, oh my God, they ran the ball on first down with Dowdell. That's the drive that culminates with the fumble. But it's almost I say this, it almost looks like who needs a touch instead of having pet plays that just start to build, and you see later in the game. It's almost like when a play is called and you think as a play caller, I just called a great play, and it's not executed correctly, then it's a crapshoot.
Yep.
That's when Nebraska gets behind the sticks or they don't stay on schedule. It's, whoa, what are we going to do?
Yep.
I think they need to run tempo. I think they look so much different when they run tempo. I'm not saying that every play goes for plus yardage, but it has more of a flow to it instead this god-awful clunky, I have no idea what's going on, and you're stopped, and then guys, it's a little pop pass out to the flat, and Nebraska's wide receivers, they go down on contact.
Yes.
They get hit and they go down.
Well, a stiff wind may bring them down too. I mean, that's not great.
They don't have an identity. We're 7 games into the season, and you've got a quarterback who still has a super high ceiling, but you have no identity that you can go to Bloomington, Indiana, or Columbus, Ohio, and go, you know what? If this element of our game is off, I know that we can do this. Nebraska can't do that. They couldn't walk in today and go, you know what? If the wind is a problem, or Dylan gets dinged up, or our wide receivers are being mauled and they're not calling it, we still got the running game because we can run between the tackles. They can't run between the tackles consistently, so they got to be creative and run outside zone or counter or jazz it up a little bit. And that's not the strength of the guy that has the headset calling plays.
Yep. And when the old football cliche is like, when stuff hits the fan, what are you going to go to? Or we're going to make them play our game. What's Nebraska's offensive game?
Yeah.
If you're making Indiana play your game and they have to respond to what you're doing offensively, what is that? Indiana did that. They played Nebraska's game and they won. They handily won. I wanted to add this too before we get to the next call. Thought it was interesting that Rule was starting to really get after receivers on that second drive. There's an incomplete pass.
He got in the face of Nair.
Right. And it was after another one of those miscommunications. And I thought it was interesting that Rule was going after him. We never saw Raiola ever get after guys, but it's always Rule now stepping in. And this is where I think we're going to start to see a little bit more of that. They're going to have that conversation about is dad protecting the son?
Well, no,
almost.
I'm going to do this. Their wide receivers are very sloppy.
Yes.
Whether it becomes a perimeter blocking or running the route the way it is designed.
Mm-hmm.
And they are at times very lazy in the technique of playing wide receiver. And the guy at quarterback doesn't have 6 seconds to sit in the pocket.
Very true.
And everything is on timing. So I think when you see that reaction, Rule knows what the play call is, knows how the route is supposed to be run, and especially stuff that is right in front of him and it's not run that way. He's not afraid to jump in somebody's grill. Here is Andy. Andy, welcome to Big Red Overreaction on the Zone of the Keg.
Hi, Gary.
Andy.
You a dog.
What's up, my brother?
Gary.
What's up, my brother?
I love you, Gary.
I love you too.
I appreciate the analyst. Hey, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Is Raiola afraid to run? Honestly, because I ain't seen it, and I'm sure the guy's got some speed. He's 20 years old, 19 or whatever he is. The dude is just not giving the defense that option that you can run.
Mhm.
Well,
I don't know that he's
and-
not afraid to. He's not afraid to run. I don't think it's highly suggested that
Yeah.
he runs.
Curtis Rourke didn't run today,
Yeah.
but he avoided contact. He avoided pressure.
Yeah.
That's Raiola's game. It's a similar style.
Well, he had more yards than Raiola.
True.
running.
Yeah. You're right.
And
Yes, he did.
honestly, when we go to halftime, do you really trust that we're going to make adjustments at all? Because I don't. I look at halftime and I'm like, yeah, we're screwed.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Andy.
Yeah.
And kind of beat up. We got to use Spadoni. We got to use our studs, and we're not. And it's pretty sad. I know this is a bad loss, and I'm not broken up. I expected us to lose this. We will lose next week. So whoever has next week's gig is kind of doing good.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Because he's going to be here tomorrow, next week at this time, taking this show till 5:00 at night. Andy, let me ask you a question, and this is for everybody else that's on hold or wants to chime in. Last year, Nebraska had an embarrassing loss to Michigan. Michigan went on to win the national championship. And you know what happened the next day? Nebraska had a practice from hell, and that is still referenced. So they have the performance today, but that's not even on the tip of anybody's tongue. Oh, boy, they had the day after Michigan last year. They need the day after Indiana this year. Why do you think that has not been brought up by anybody?
Well, I think, after, the win 2 weeks ago, they gave them 3 days off. I think it's wrong. I think you got to work them and get smart. And apparently we saw no motivation out of them. Defense quick, wide away. And it's sad. I love Nebraska, but this is not what I expect, honestly.
Yep. Andy, as always, I appreciate the phone call, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, so I mean,
you're right though. That's a
the
good
post
point.
Michigan
Yep.
last
Good
year,
point.
everybody was upset. Rule was beside himself. They went, and that thing is referenced. That practice is referenced.
It was a turning point.
Could you, with a team that, for the most part, everybody was there that Sunday after Michigan last year. Could you try it again with this year's group, or is there something different about this year's group because they know each other that you don't think this is the team to punch or push that particular button to get the result of your next game? Or maybe it is, we know who we're playing. That time they were getting ready for Illinois on a short week.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I'm not a head coach and not making $7 million to do
There's
it,
a
but
disconnect in the two biggest games that Nebraska has played this year between what Rule thinks is going to happen and actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got to figure out the why. Is it past history? Guys on the big stage, things don't go well. Instead of going, not today, my friend, they go, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, okay, and they just quit, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because that's twice now this year in the both losses. He came out and said after today, didn't see it coming. He kind of said that after Illinois just by his actions in the postgame.
Yes, 100%.
So what when it's time to go and they turn on the lights and Gus and Joel and everybody else shows up, why is that happening? Why is that happening?
Oof.
I mean, that's
you got me stumped.
That's a bigger picture, and that might just be a change of personnel.
Right.
Some are out, new guys are in. They haven't gone through that completely. Because go back to when this happened the first time against Illinois, the younger guys had a different reaction compared to the older guys.
Right.
Well, I haven't seen enough of the post-game comments to see what today is like. I mean, today is, we had a terrible day at the office and a team that is really, really good and could be staring at the fourth team out of the Big Ten to be in the playoff kicked our ass.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't execute. They did. We got what we deserved. A multitude of things. Again, it's all about the response. The response from when you get back and you start practicing to how you look against Ohio State. I'm not saying the result, but just how the response and how you look. Andy's point, they took 3 days off after practicing after the bye. So they went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they gave them Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. All
Yep.
right. Here is Jaron. Jaron, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I just have 2 points, and you may or may not agree with this.
That's perfectly
But
fine.
The first point is, did Trev Alberts know what was going on here and just not want to deal with it? I mean, the whole thing when he left his alma mater seemed weird. Maybe he knew what was coming and just didn't want to deal with it. And then the second thing is, if we're honest with ourselves, Mickey at Iowa, that team was better than we are almost 2 years later. They went into Iowa City and beat an Iowa team that won a bowl game. We are no farther along than we were then. In fact, I don't think we're as good. Rule talks a big game, but he does not deliver.
What did you think about the white jerseys today? Jaron? I guess.
All right. Well, we'll never get the white comment or the white jersey comment there, but oh man. Yes, I would like to start the campaign that Trev Alberts watched that press conference of Kirk Cignetti saying Google me and thought, I better get out of here. That I can't stand. I can't wait till October 19th. I can't be here for that.
Here is Austin. Hello, Austin. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline.
Hi, guys. You got me?
Yeah, we
yes,
got you,
do.
Austin.
Austin, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, today's loss was it was a slap in the face for sure. It was definitely unexpected. I definitely thought that Nebraska would come out with more juice, more energy, especially playing for a bowl game. But we all talk about the why, asking why or how can this program take that next step. Do y'all believe that the higher up people that made the choices to fire Bo Pelini, hire Mike Riley, and then of course we all know what happened with the Frost era. Do you think just kind of those three choices kind of have led to what the program is now?
There has been a lot of dysfunction from the power chair to making poor hires that did not fit what Nebraska needed at the time. Hey, Austin, it's a culmination of a lot of things, but Jesus, we make Nebraska football so hard when it shouldn't be this hard.
Right.
Nebraska can't get out of Nebraska's way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going on for over 2 decades. All right. It is not that hard. We are making it much harder than it has to be. But there's also elements of lack of offensive tackle recruiting, retainment, running back. That stuff is caught up to Nebraska, and until they get it fixed, you're going to get more 56-7 days like this, and you're going to go, why is Indiana's program further ahead than Nebraska?
Right.
Yeah, this is a big week for the guys that matter the most, the guys that run the program and are in the program, to shut all of us out.
Yep.
Because they're going to hear the Groundhog's Day movie all over again. I've seen this film before. We're never going to get out of the way. That's why I keep going back to the response. The response is key, because you find out a lot about people when they get squeezed, whether they be the head coach, because I think you're going to find out a lot, or the players. I mean, for God's sake, today, Nebraska to begin the fourth quarter, had a call timeout and then had a false start.
Yep. And it's not the first time that they've had that happen this season either.
Jesus, pick a play that epitomized today, and that might be the play. I didn't mean to steal that from you, Austin. You got anything else?
Nope, that's going to be it.
Austin,
Right,
I appreciate the call. Thank you. Minnesota Matt joins us on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Hello, Matt.
Hello?
Yeah, Matt, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
Thanks for hanging in. There's a couple things that were interesting that I didn't really see until this game, and shame on me. But, our wide receivers on the edge really can't block, and I did not recognize that. I thought we were always a little better running on the outside. But yeah, I think even the announcers mentioned it a few times. They just, I don't know, they just can't block on the outside, or they're not interested.
Hey, stop right there, Matt. That comment I'm not going to push back on about not being interested, because that's a great observation and you are spot on.
because in the first 3-4 games, I was thinking just bouncing on the outside, right? We've had maybe a few Emma Johnson out there. And I don't know what happened or what's happening, or maybe I didn't see that. But that was kind of eye-opening. The other guy that called about Dylan Rayola not wanting to run, we don't want a running quarterback. He's doing what he came here to do, was stay strong and tall in the pocket. He's not necessarily doing that right now. Special teams is bad, but I obviously did not lose the game. Even when Barney went out, we still drove 70-some yards, 75 yards, and we fumbled it. I think we would have got the first down.
I do too.
Yeah. I thought we would lose. I thought it was going to be like 38-24, 31-28. So this is shocking to see that defensively, our next win, everyone's thinking UCLA. Well, they played pretty tough against Penn State. I think it's going to be Wisconsin having their worst game, at home. I think it's going to be tough. And the last thing is, people have been talking about the turning point, right? I think there's a turning point with Michigan. And I can't remember who we played, Indiana or Illinois maybe, but Ohio State is not Illinois. And I guess my last thing, my question is, first beginning half of the season, I'm thinking, wow, this defense is elite. This defense is going to be great, and it's going to suck next year. We have so many juniors and seniors, right? An earlier caller talked about the offensive line, how we have so many seniors, so many starts. Bryce Benhart came in as a 4-star recruit, and the last 3 years, all we can count on is at least one false start, and he did it again today. I hate saying that. I say it every game.
Yeah, he hasn't been anywhere close to where he was at the end of last year, and that could not happen.
And so I think that caller that talked about that is spot on. It's like maybe we need to get, some of these guys, unfortunately, flushed out. More on the offensive line. Because the defensive line, I don't know what happened today. I don't know. It was sad to see. Want to hear your thoughts on some of those things.
Matt, thanks for the phone call.
Yep. I'll say this on the defensive line part. I thought in the Illinois game, Nash and Ty got their lunch ate. Today felt kind of the same way. I'm not sure that for two guys that want to have their names called on Sundays, this was not a performance that is going to look great for 32 teams looking at them at the professional level.
Well, Indiana was really good at the offensive line, and Nash got washed a bit, but he also got double teamed. I said this on Friday that Nebraska's second level had to have a great day. Now, Shaver started today, and he's a youngin' that's a thumper and needs more reps, game reps. The second level for Nebraska didn't play well at all. I mean, very rarely did you hear John Bullock's name. I mean, John Bullock got washed a bit. I mean, Indiana was able to get to the second level and beat guys when they would take care of, Nash and Robinson. Just Nebraska. And I knew that with the quick game, and Rourke sees stuff and he reacts quickly. I knew that they would be able to throw at a high percentage. And Nebraska tried to keep everything in front of him. Now, Rourke's ball placement, now that you've watched a full game where you're watching every single play, is pretty impressive. I mean, there were some of those 50-50 balls that, were 50-50 balls, but realistically,
they were 90-10.
The back shoulder stuff, that was a great ball placement for the wide receivers. And Nebraska's cornerbacks not looking for the ball, playing the man. We've gone through all of that. But Nebraska's second level did not play very well today. But God, the glaring thing that I did not see coming was 215 yards on the ground at 6.5 a pop.
Yes.
And there were so many friggin' holes.
End of the first
I thought
quarter,
Moses was going to walk through.
It was 11.2 yards per carry.
Yeah.
End of the first 15 minutes into the game, where you can establish some sort of semblance of identity. They were running all over you. I think one thing that we're getting a little bit tripped up on, just in general, everybody, whether it's myself, the chat, the callers, everybody, this isn't technical details. I think you're spot on with it, Gary, that it's not small things. These are major changes that need to happen to avoid 56-7. You don't lose 56-7 to a good team because you have small things to correct. And I hope that's not what we hear on a Monday press conference from Matt Rule when he comes in and just says, well, there's just these little things that we saw on film that if we do this correctly, it doesn't change.
Well, I mean, there's so two big things that I had this dream that Nebraska would lose 41-13.
Were you on Big Red Overreaction?
No, this was during the week. And two things are true. Nebraska's team across the board team speed is not very good.
Yeah.
And also their lack of depth of skill guys that are difference makers. What happened today? Now next year, I don't want to look ahead to 25. Hell, I didn't even want to look ahead to Ohio State. They're going to be in a completely different defense because they will be faster. They will be more built on speed than bulk. And so how will that look? That's down the road. You have to play with the guys you got now, but those guys have to play better. There are better football players on that defensive side of the ball than they showed today. Indiana's guys that needed going into the game that had to play well, played well. Nebraska's guys that had to play well, especially defensively, didn't play well.
Yep.
And Nebraska is they teeter right on the edge that they need almost everything to go right on a play call or on a series for them to be successful. That's just where they are. It sucks to be in that position, but that's the reality of where Nebraska football is. And I apologize for that because I've let some stuff be clouded over knowing, okay, if they can get through this, if they can work on their strengths and avoid the weaknesses, man, they got a shot. Then they played a really good football team today that is well coached and that had guys that had eyes on Nebraska during the week to put together a game plan or eyes in the course of a game and said, we're going to find out where 7 is on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Or we have no respect for 18-4. They're not going to beat us. And they abused them.
Yep.
And it was a total collapse from helmets to headsets.
I'll say this as well, too. You mentioned Riley Van Poppel earlier. I wouldn't hate after a defensive performance like this, and honestly, offensively, too. But I mean this defensively because I think that they have the young guys to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the taking away of black shirts and the single-digit numbers, that means nothing. That means nothing to the players on the field. Like, you can say that it matters, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean keep the black shirts, whatever. That doesn't matter. Take away their starts. Take away their snaps. Van Poppel can play. I think you could get Vincent Schaefer's again more reps. You can do those sort of things. There are other dudes on this defense that can see reps and should. And against Ohio State, I mean, you're already under the gun significantly. What does it hurt to maybe see what other younger players could do in a significant moment and see who steps up when called upon, right?
I mean, they don't have an abundance of guys that play with an attitude that are scary.
Yeah.
That are going to pop you when you come across the middle, that are hit stickers, that you're like, we have to scheme away from them. Nebraska has too many guys on defense where they're like, hey, we'll scheme right at you.
Yep.
Because we have no respect for your game. That's another part of the tell today is there were guys that you could tell that a good coaching staff said, in the back end, we have no respect for certain guys, and we're going to find them, and we're going to exploit them. That's a well-coached football team that Nebraska played today that had the personnel to go with the scheme and the attitude of just confidence of, Indiana, let's be honest. Now that this game is over and we've sifted through calls on the show, Indiana knew they were going to win that football game before they ever left the hotel in Bloomington. They did.
The hotel they checked in late, too. Don't forget that,
They
too.
They did.
Yeah.
Wow. Here is Cole. Hello, Cole. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how you doing? Awesome, Gary. Appreciate you taking my call.
Thanks, Gary. Cole. Whoops. My first mistake. My bad. Sorry, Cole.
No, that's okay. So I was reaching out to you guys. That was embarrassing, obviously. I was wondering if you guys noticed Mazuka in that left tackle and what do you think of that?
Yeah. So he bounced out there. He didn't play the entire game out there, but yeah, he played a little. He spelled Gatula for a bit at left tackle.
Yep.
I was curious about that because it seemed like it almost seemed like a little bit of panic.
No. It's Cole. I wouldn't say it's panic because I'm going to go back a couple of weeks. So before he had a little incident that got him suspended for the Rutgers game, Purdue, where they got him suspended for the Purdue game, he was working at left tackle in practice leading up to the Purdue game.
That's interesting to know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any major takeaways to bring up to you guys. I think you guys have heard a lot today. I work with a bunch of Hoosiers, and I have a job interview with a Hoosier on Monday. How should I spin this into a new job? It's absolute beatdown and embarrassment.
Okay, so Cole, you are trying to get a job, and the person that is interviewing you is a Hoosier, or are you interviewing a Hoosier?
The first thing you said, yeah, I'm being interviewed by a Hoosier at the company I work with.
I would walk in and I would say, I have the attitude, the confidence, and the success of Kurt Signetti.
That's good. That's good. Way to walk in.
Should I
say Google me?
I
Yes.
Yeah, Google me. Okay, that's
Yep.
exactly.
That's a good way to go, Cole. Yeah,
that would be like really cocky.
I wouldn't say that I'm a winner, but just say Google me and just go from there and see what happens.
And maybe I'll blur out the University of Nebraska on my resume.
Hey,
Thank
you know
guys.
what? You could say to him, Cole, hey, I would have never thought that Nebraska basketball would have a longer winning streak against IU hoops than Nebraska football against IU football.
People forget.
Yeah, maybe I'll spend the conversation in basketball. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you guys.
Don't forget
I
baseball, too.
appreciate it.
Cole, thanks for the call. Here is Matt. Good evening, Matt.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes,
we got
can.
you.
What you got, Matt?
All right. Well, hey, I'm calling from the greater Seattle area.
Whoa.
And I grew up in Nebraska, been out here in the Pacific Northwest for 13 years. I'm totally excited that a lot of Pac-12 teams have joined the Big Ten. Looking forward to the Huskers being out here. But I got to tell you, I have a son. His favorite team, college team, is Oregon. And he's always wondering why I love Nebraska. And we need to prove them wrong. And when you guys come out here, and when the Huskers come out here, we need some wins. And it's not going to get any easier playing Pac-12 teams in the Big Ten now. And they need to make things happen. No more excuses. Just start playing, start winning. I know we, talk about everything's on this call and the games, but they got to make things happen. They got to rise again. We got to show my family, the folks I know out here. They see me wear my big red hat and my jersey today, what Nebraska's all about. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Matt, thanks for the phone call. Give some perspective after a 56-7 loss.
That's that Northwest perspective.
Welcome, Steve, to Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally.
Hey there. Good afternoon, guys. Calling from sunny Central California.
What part of are we near Fresno? Where are we?
We are in Fresno.
Oh, all right.
Very good.
Yeah, beautiful day here. Just a few thoughts. Number one, I'm not a run the ball guy, okay? But Nebraska needs to be able to run the ball effectively when they have to run it, and I haven't seen that this year. I don't see any significant improvement in the offensive line. The one holdover at right tackle still, jumps at the most inopportune times within games. If you're going to be a good running team, to me, it seems like you have to commit to that. And that's what I heard early on from Coach Roy. Yeah, we're going to run the ball. We're going to be tough, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. But they don't stay committed to it. They put Harburg in, I forget it was 14-7 or 14-zip, and he gets a nice run. We'll leave him in for another down. Then they have to account for running quarterback, but they pull him, and then we can't convert within the 10-yard line because we can't run the ball in the red zone. And I think strategically, our offense coordinator had the wrong idea. We should not have tried to get into a track meet with Indiana because they were going to win. And I think evidence of that is like 3 minutes before the half, we get the ball back. And I'm thinking, okay, I forget if we were 21-7 at that point. I'm thinking, hey, maybe you can take it, run some clock. Maybe you can score. We get the ball back. And what they do, they throw 3 times and we're out of there. And they come down and score, and it's 28-7.
Yep.
I do not see a commitment to running the ball. And I don't know which plays you need to call, but I don't see that toughness. And unless they can learn how to run the ball, I always judge a running game like, can you get your 3 yards when you absolutely have to get 3 yards?
Yep.
And they can't do it. And it was exactly the wrong strategy. Forget about tactics, short-term play-to-play play calling. I just think that they abandoned the run and they got boat raced once again on national TV. I go back to, I've been following this a while. I grew up, the first game I really remember was Game of the Century with, Johnny Rodgers and OU and all that. But you have to be able to run the ball. And I thought they were committed to it, and evidently they're not. So with that, I'll just shut up and listen, and wait to get boat raced again next week by Ohio State.
All right, Steve, thanks for the call from Fresno.
Appreciate it.
At this point, you're banging your head in the wall with the running game.
Yep.
You have a bad combination, lack of creativity, okay running backs, sometimes okay offensive linemen. It's a bad way to live in a conference where you've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and we've got to be able to run the football.
Right.
Nebraska ran for 2.4 yards.
Yeah.
Indiana's a little bit better defensively today than I think. I said they were a good team. I think they're in the range of being a very good football team.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit I wasn't overwhelmed by their defense. Man, they play hard. They have guys in the right position and they have some wreckers up front. But just Nebraska's communication. I go back. So they had a six-man protection, and then there was a wide open hole where Indiana blitzed and sacked Raiola
up the middle.
Yep. Six man.
And it's from
how does that happen?
It's on two different levels because oftentimes the running back stays in and then peels out late to take a extra, opportunity option, little, receiving route for Raiola, but they misread that more often than not. It was Johnson. It was Dowdell at times too in the backfield where they were kept into block for a second, saw no one coming and would peel out. And there would be a blitzer coming from the side they were on to then be a free runner at Raiola. And Dylan did what he could, but then rolling out, you disrupt the play, all that stuff. I know a lot of people have said, and that last call as well had talked about how it became a track race, that Nebraska did not want to be in a track meet throughout this contest. Nebraska knew they couldn't win a track meet with Indiana. Indiana made it a track meet. That's what happened. Nebraska came in and did nothing to deviate from Indiana's plan. We always use the phrase, and we've said it here tonight too, or this afternoon, about how play your game, make them play your game. Nebraska played Indiana's game the entire day today. It was Hoosiers 60 straight minutes.
Well, and it didn't help that, 3 times Indiana went 75, 88, and 75 drives on your defense, which coming into the game you trusted would help you out enough that you could find something on offense. Let's just cut to it. This game ended when Dowdell fumbled.
100%.
Because Indiana takes over at the 12-yard line. The quarter ends. Nebraska's not playing on their wide receivers. They're given a cushion. Indiana's just eating that up. You want to keep everybody in front of you. And look at what happens. Big play, 28-yard pass. Then they threw the pass to, was it Cooper for 35?
Yep.
And it was basically over after that.
In the first 6 offensive series for Indiana, they had at least one play go over 20 yards on every single drive. So they're chunking you up down the field.
We got one more break to get rid of here. We'll roll through the calls, and then we'll say goodbye. Don't forget, Severe Reaction. Michael's got a lot of thoughts. Just seeing Michael on Twitter and our interaction that he'll have tomorrow coming up at 8 a.m. on Severe Reaction from 8 to 10. Of course, we'll all be back in at 6. Next week, 11 a.m., another nationally televised game for Nebraska against Ohio State with the Fox crew that will be there. You know what? Gus Johnson has never called a Nebraska win. And isn't it something that if you like Gus Johnson, but when you're on the end of one of these kind of games, you absolutely hate Gus Johnson. You think Gus Johnson is the worst human being in the world.
True, yeah.
Next week is 11 a.m., and of course, Big Red Overreaction will be after it. I know Nick Hanley will be here. I'm not sure who his co-host will be.
Don't look at me. Don't put that on me.
Calling it audible.
I was going to say I'm 0-1 so far. So
we're back with more callers to put a wrap on this edition of Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank and Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Plus, No Name Nutrition. You can live a better, healthier, more natural life. I know by example, No Name Nutrition. It's Big Red Overreaction with Austin and Peter and Gary on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Kick. In the Big Ten, Oregon shut out Purdue 35-0 last night. Wisconsin, the final game played at the Lakeside facility before Northwestern goes and plays at Wrigley. Wisconsin all of a sudden is 5-2. They look a lot different from that loss against USC. Remember, they led early in that game out there at halftime. Wisconsin wins today 23-3.
It's funny what happens when you go back to your running the football identity.
Yep. Well, Walker ran for 126. Of course, Indiana beat Nebraska 56-7. Now, here's something to watch, because after Ohio State, Nebraska comes home and plays UCLA. Today started a stretch where Nebraska's their next 4 opponents are all coming off a bye. So Ohio State has been off since their loss to Oregon. UCLA, after winning today at Rutgers 35-32, they hold on to win. Garber's their quarterback, threw for 383 and 4 scores. They held Monangai to 106 yards on the ground. All of a sudden, Rutgers is on a skid. They're 4-3. UCLA wins their second game. UCLA now is on a bye week. The next time UCLA plays is Nebraska's next home game on November 2nd. USC is up on Maryland 21-7 at halftime. That whole travel 2 time zones thing going to be debunked today. And Illinois leads Michigan 21-7 at the end of the third quarter. All right, these are the final calls of the night on Big Red Overreaction. Thanks to everybody that interacted on the stream, email, Twitter, all of that stuff. You're out there. We are very appreciative of that. Here is Brian. Brian, thanks for holding. Welcome to Big Red Overreaction. Oh
no.
Brian,
do we lose you?
If Brian calls back, Peter, only Brian, we'll put him on.
Yeah.
Here is Mark. Good evening, Mark.
Hey, guys. Hey, thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, why don't we just be honest? The Nebraska's just not a good team. I mean, we will be. Rule's going to get us to the place, but we're just not a good team right now.
Yeah, I don't hate that mindset, because I think if you work backwards and work forwards, again, this is a conversation from the preseason too. A lot of people always framed it this way. I know Hanley was really good about this, about saying it. You know, if after 7 games you're 5-2, you feel pretty good, right? In the preseason, even when you're supposed to be 7-0, but it's how you're 5-2.
We haven't played anybody.
It's how you're 5-2. 56-7 at 5-2 feels very different.
Okay. But first of all, we haven't played anybody.
All right, so let me ask you.
The only 2 teams we played that were good, we got beat.
That's true. Mark, do you believe what everybody is saying on the interwebs, that Indiana still hasn't played anybody?
I don't think they have either, and I don't think Nebraska's. Nobody counts Nebraska as playing somebody, right? I mean, Indiana's we beat Nebraska. Well, they're just not good.
That's fair. Well, you just heard the Rutgers score too. They're now 4-3. That October 5th win feels a lot different now.
But I should add, Colorado is rolling against Arizona.
Yes.
All right, continue on, Mark.
Man, Colorado's in the Big 12. I mean, come on.
They're not a good team.
We're going to get there. Rule's going to get us there. But
okay, so I'm not.
We're just not a good team.
So I'm curious. I'm not pushing back on anything you're saying. Why aren't they there yet? Because 56-7 should not happen, regardless of how good Indiana is.
Well, okay, Gary, on your show and the other shows on, you guys think that the defense is great, and first of all, we haven't played anybody. We don't. The last 6 games last year, look at that schedule, and they were like, oh, they played so well, but it was against the. You know what the last 6 teams were last year?
Oh, I know that. Yeah. No, and this is why, Mark, and again, you're making a fair point that I think our trust in the defense is on pause. Is I thought the way they played against Illinois, because it was a lot of out of position penalties, I thought it was a little bit of an anomaly. Today was not an anomaly. Nebraska defensively got exposed.
No, I honestly, I think we'll get there, but we're just not a good team. Just be honest. We're just not a good team.
But in the 7th game of year 2, 56-7 should not happen.
Yes.
Okay, but that's also a thing you guys always talk about is year 2. He was the year 1, he was terrible, but year 2 he always come on. That's all.
Yeah,
too.
Maybe it's
You
not.
guys hype
Maybe it's
that way
not
too
going.
much.
Maybe it's not moving along as quickly as we thought. But 56-7 in the manner that it happened today should not
Right.
happen in
I
Game
agree
7 of
100%.
year
We're
2.
just not a good team yet. We'll get there, but we're just not good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think anyone who
Yeah,
loses
thank you, guys.
56 to
Thank you.
7.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mark,
feels that
thanks
way.
for the call.
Thanks, Mark.
I mean, mistakes that happened today should not be happening.
Yeah. For a team that received votes in every top 25 poll, regardless of what you think of it, every single week from the preseason, at no chance should they ever lose 56 to 7.
They should be in a better spot of things they should have been to a point where, you know what, if you get beat by a better team, you tip your cap and you go, you know what, you were better than us today.
Yep.
They shouldn't be in a position where things snowball so quickly. This 7 games into year number 2. You might lose by 21, but you kind of hung in there and you just fought back and forth, and the team across from you was better, but not where one misplay, a fumble at the 12-yard line just derails everything. Just should not be in that position right now. All right, final call of the night on Big Red Overreaction is with Seth. Good evening, Seth.
How we doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I was just calling. Do you guys think we can even get any better this year? Or you think, like, the rule's already thinking about long trajectory of everything? Like, is he just thinking about getting better next year? Because I really don't see us improving this year.
Seth, if he is bailing on this team with guys that came back for this season, that is a horrible look. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
But if that's, if going off your question, if that's the case, that's an awful look. I don't think that's the case. But here's the thing. Let me turn this question back to you, Seth, because I think there are some things that happened today that I don't think I don't think are trends. But I don't know that. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next week. Can Matt Rule get better this year?
I don't know.
And that's like an uncomfortable question.
I don't see us improving as the year goes along, is what I'm saying.
What do you mean by improving? Do you mean just get a win, or what like in what aspect of improvement?
I feel like our offense as the year goes along isn't improving. Our special teams is getting worse. Obviously, our defense isn't holding up as the year goes along. I'm just curious, like, do you think we can piece together a year this year?
So how about this?
Get better?
If the Huskers go 2-2 over the next 4 games, but the offense is similar to what we saw today, but the defense gets back to the standard in which we thought that they should be, sans this game, do you feel like that's improvement?
That is a success.
Okay, so you're just asking for wins.
Somewhat, but do you not feel it? Do you not feel like, we're just not getting better right now?
Yeah, that's a disappointing fact. Is
regression is real. Yes,
they haven't gotten close to what I think they can be, and now I might have to adjust. But I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I was a 7-5 guy because I didn't know how they would handle success. Well, I'm kind of questions being answered. And Seth, thanks for the phone call. Is they won their first 4, everybody was patting them on the back. What happened? Then they rebounded and won 2 football games where they found a way to win, rather than a way to lose. And people are like, okay, the boat has settled down a little bit. What happened today? That was one of my biggest questions in the offseason is, can this program, which is better in certain areas, but still there's a talent deficiency, can they handle success?
Yep.
And that question is still out there. I didn't think they would be also 7 games in where they're not close to, I don't want to say a finished product, because by about the 7th game of the year in football, especially in college, this is kind of who you are. It's kind of you've established exactly who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. I thought they would get this game 7 and I would know this is their identity. I don't want to say that their identity is 56-7 today, and against better teams, they just, they shoot themselves in the foot, or they just get mollywopped.
Right.
I think, but it's a little bit unsettling that they're this far into the season, and you kind of know, but you think that there's something else out there. If they stay the same, you're probably looking at 1 or 2 more wins max.
I think if Nebraska fans sleep on this tonight, wake up tomorrow, if every trend that we've seen from this week of college football, with UCLA and Wisconsin winning, USC getting back onto their little rhythm, and Iowa likely being a top 25 team at the end of the year, it's a likely loss to Ohio State next week. But those last 4 games, Nebraska will have a great chance to stare at the mirror, and you'll be able to know where this team is and where the program is heading. Because if you win those games, you feel great. And if you go 2-2 or 1-3 and you still make a bowl game, you're going to know where this team is by the time that you head to Iowa City. And you will have a chance to get up and maybe beat a top 25 team. But if you fall to UCLA, you fall at Wisconsin, it's going to be a much different type of conversation.
I think, and people are going to crush me for this because it's Ohio State. I think the next week you're going to learn a lot about Nebraska in Matt Rule's second year. It's all about the response. I mean, 56-7 in Bloomington. What does 56-7 equate to in Columbus for a team that's going to be ticked off coming off a bye?
Yeah, they're not going to be overlooking the Cornhuskers. Any chance of those, they're looking ahead to, they're not looking ahead to Penn State. And Ryan Day is going to come out with a point to prove. So if you thought 56-7 was bad, he's going to try to slam the door shut in the first quarter.
Yeah, well, you can say, hey, it's a bad day at the office, which they had a terrible day at the office. Is this just a one-off kind of thing, or is this actually who they are?
Yep.
That's the question that will have to be answered. We will talk about it because that's what we do. Those guys that play the game and coordinate the game, that's the question they have.
And maybe they have to answer it on a Sunday practice. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean,
it's not a bad idea.
The how and the why.
Because they're back now, aren't they? I mean, they probably flew back. They're probably home.
Yeah, the how and the why is something that eludes the success of Nebraska football. How do we get there? And then why did we get there?
Yep.
And I don't, it's not going to be solved with a loss to Indiana, but there's a lot more questions after today than I think a lot of people had or didn't want to admit out loud. So we'll find out throughout the next week. Again, tomorrow, Michael Severe is in with Severe Reaction, a must listen beginning at 8 a.m. And then there's a show at 6 a.m. on Monday that also is a must listen as Mornings with Sharp and Hanley.
Whoa.
Connor Happer Show, USC. We'll all have takes, hot takes on what happened in Bloomington. But final score, 56-7. Big thanks to all of you, all of our sponsors as well. Of course, Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. No Name Nutrition, live a better, healthier, more natural life. Also, our good friends on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline and Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems experts. Thank you very much, Peter. We had so much more fun the last time we did this together after Purdue.
We got to get back to that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it'll happen next week.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Nicely done. Your day.
Great work, Oscar. Great work in your debut.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. You're 0-1.
First one off the bat.
Try and enjoy the rest of your evening. And don't forget, again, tomorrow morning, Severe Reaction. Then we're all back beginning on Monday. Once again, for Peter, for Austin, I'm Gary. All of you, thank you very much for spending about 3 hours with us on a Saturday after a 56-7 loss. It's Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 101.9 The Keg.